Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan? Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps and also on the Hockey Podcast Network, also known as THPN. Want to thank Dylan and Kyle so much for having me on board that awesome network and website coming in out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Thank you guys very much. Well, today we are ready to rock and roll with the annual Granddaddy of them all, State of the Wild 2026. That's right, the annual Granddaddy of them all. Great to be back on board with this 2026 to do the 3-segment traditional style here. First segment will be the season wrap-up, basically, as we say, the summary, talking about the past, basically, and pass out the award demerits at the end of the first segment. Second segment will be what was new a few years ago, segment 1.5, where we talk about the Stanley Cup Final. Segment 2 will be talking about the future, the up-and-coming, well, you could say trades, potential, because, potential trades, the draft, if we have any picks, right? Yeah, we do, but they're much later. It's not going to be as fun as previous years when it comes to that, especially, well, being able to watch them. But who knows, maybe the Wild trade up. I doubt it. I think it's more of a win now thing right now with the Wild, if you didn't notice. Some interesting names being brought up. We'll talk about them in segment 2 because we're talking about the past right now, dang it. Segment 3, of course, is fan interaction. So, where we'll have polls where, you'll be able to vote that are out there on Brave the Wild. Hopefully you got to see them and all that. And vote on your biggest disappointment, or, well, your MVP first, your biggest disappointment, and your biggest surprise for the season. There are 3 separate polls at Brave the Wild, and all that good stuff. Derek did message me offering to potentially be on this show, and it would have been at least the first segment. And I think, the first segment is probably where I would do it, because this show is being pieced together, basically, It's a project, more of a project. It's not like an all-in-one shot. I don't like to do it that way. Partially, I don't have the time to do it that way, but secondly, I like to let things bleed out and develop and such as well, including let the Stanley Cup Final come to an end. That's obviously not ended at the time I'm recording this first segment. There's that. Also, again, the crunch with the position the new position at the same job, Boston Scientific, but new position in the company. It's more of a crunch to get to work on time, unfortunately, even without the lawn service anymore. Still, kind of my schedule sucks, so it is what it is. It's called working shifts, basically. If the people that work 8 to 5, 9 to 5, God bless you. You are blessed. More than you can imagine, because let's record at 8 p.m. Yeah, no problem. Let's do it. That's probably where I'd rather record shows, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And having the co-host thing, like permanent co-host thing, is kind of tough for me no matter what, it seems like. But we'll see. Not because I'm too cool to have a co-host. That is far from the truth, but it is what it is. I don't know, reliability in the past with other people giving me PTSD. Now, Derek has been insanely reliable, so it's not on him. But yes, the crunch is kind of what it is. So that's partially why, unfortunately, I'm just kind of sticking with solo for this year. But maybe we'll have something in the summer, or I'll go on his show in the summer, which would be really fun as well. Enough of me babbling about kind of personal off the mic stuff, even though Derek is an awesome guy and does a great show called Crease Podcast, of course. We'll talk about that more in the third segment. So, yes, let's get stuck straight into the season wrap-up, and maybe we could talk about the NHL awards really quick as well, I guess. Well, the Hart Trophy hasn't officially been given out yet. Ted Lindsay Award is going, well, nope, that one's not out yet. See, that's a thing. That's the annoying part. You got a lot of finalists and such. But the King Clancy Award has been given out, and that would be your guy, Marcus Foligno. So congratulations, Marcus Foligno, bringing in the King Clancy Award. Kind of like the Good Guy Award, you could say. What is it like? It's kind of similar to the Walter Payton in the NFL. The player who best exemplifies leadership qualities on and off the ice and has made a noteworthy humanitarian contribution in his community. Yep. So thank you. Congratulations, Marcus Foligno, for that. Again, that sounds exactly like the Walter Payton Award in the National Football League when you see that stamp on certain players' jerseys like Drew Brees years ago and such. I always wondered what that was. It almost looked like Darth Vader from a distance, which people might slap me in the face for saying that. But from a distance, it looked like Darth Vader. I was like, why is he wearing a Star Wars thing? Oh, that's because he got the Walter Payton Award. Oh, I'm sorry. That was terrible. So, nope, the main, these other awards haven't been given out yet, except for the Norris. Why is it saying finalists? Oh, it is showing the winners. See, I'm a complete dummy. But, yeah, we'll talk about that right now before we get stuck straight into the regular season stuff. The finalists for the Norris Trophy, and I think we kind of talked about this last week, were Rasmus Dahlin, Cale Makar. Why did they misspelled Cale Makar? Wow. They misspelled Cale Makar. Cole Makar, I guess, and Zach Werenski, who ended up being the winner. So an 81-point season. Cool. The annoying part is Quinn Hughes. Where did Quinn Hughes finish? Did he finish third, second? No, he wasn't in the finalists. So how about fourth? No. Fifth? No. Sixth? No. He didn't finish sixth. Seventh. Seventh heaven for Quinn Hughes. Seventh place. That doesn't sound right. Hey man, that ain't right. No, it's really not actually. I think he could have potentially beat out Rasmus Dahlin, potentially. Makar and Werenski, I don't know. And yeah, I talked about Werenski last week a bit. Yeah, congratulations to him and all that. But still kind of weird, that he, still kind of weird, like how much he progressed over the years. I remember thinking he's good, but he's not that great. And he's great now. Frank Selke, that defensive forward. Nick Suzuki, congratulations there to him. The other guys were Sorelli and Brock Nelson of Colorado. Brock Nelson in there. I remember Wes Wald in it years ago, and yep, he didn't get it. Damn it. Calder Memorial Trophy, Matthew Schaefer. Congratulations, Matthew Schaefer of the New York Islanders. Great season to him. Yes, sir. Bill Masterson, the former North Star, unfortunately, awarded annually to the player who most embodies perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication. And God rest, Bill Masterson stole all those years ago. The finalists were Jonathan Taves. How about that? Yep, or I guess it's going to be awarded. Yeah, it's not been awarded yet. Jonathan Taves, Landeskog, and Rasmus Dahlin. Cool. John Cooper did get the Jack Adams. Congratulations. Lindy Ruff, great job with Buffalo, didn't get it. And Dan Muse with the Pittsburgh Penguins, kind of bringing them back to prominence, kind of, sort of. But John Cooper, one of the best coaches of all time, I think, is holding up that one again. What am I doing here? Finalist, yep, Cole Caulfield, another Montreal Canadien, getting the Lady Byng Trophy. Congratulations to him. Awarded each year to the player to demonstrate sportsmanship. So he's like the good guy, the other good guy, but like the sportsmanship one rather than the on and off the ice thing. Nice. The goaltender of the year, Vezina, is going to go to Andre Vasilevsky. He's got about 12 of those. Well, something like that. The other finalists were Jerry Swayman and Ila Sorokin of the New York Islanders. Connor McDavid bringing home another Hart Trophy, his 20th. No, it's not. It's not a Hart Trophy. It's a Ted Lindsay Award. I'm losing my mind. Most outstanding player. At least most outstanding player. Okay, that's kind of an interesting one. So, congratulations, Connor McDavid. I'm sure he'd rather be holding a Stanley Cup. I can imagine the frustration there for him. Pardon me. And no, the Hart Memorial has not been announced yet. Connor McDavid looking for that with McKinnon and Nikita Kucherov, the finalists. They're probably the three best players in the league. So not a huge surprise there. And the general manager, Bill Guerin, Chris McFarland, and Pat Verbeek. Pat Verbeek, the former Hartford Whaler, Detroit Red Wing, Dallas Star, But I remember him for the Hartford Whalers. He's with the Ducks. Right now it's Pat Verbeek. Chris McFarland with the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, that's great. And Bill Guerin with the Wild. Yeah, Bill Guerin, finalist. The award has not been passed out, but maybe we'll talk about that in a future segment here on the show. You'll already know. I'm like, why is he in the past here? Yeah, because I am. Sorry. But let's get to the regular season for the Minnesota Wild. It was a promising year. It was a crappy start to the year. Yeah, the preseason and all that in September. I mean, isn't that fun? Like late September, you're seeing hockey again. You're hearing about it, at least on the radio and, reading about it online. On your smart device or your laptop or your desktop. Yeah, people actually do still have desktops. That's not a huge surprise. They are more powerful than laptops. It's just they're not portable. Anyhow, and they're not as, compact if you live in an apartment. The season opener was pretty surprising. A lot of people thought St. Louis was going to be a big problem. And they really kind of weren't, though they got better during the course of the year. The Wild opened up the season 5-0. Yeah, no problem. We'll be fine. It's going to be a great year, right? 7-4 to Columbus loss. The next one, Los Angeles, we beat them. Okay, but then get a 5-2 loss to the Stars, who we would face in the playoffs several months later. 5-1 loss to Washington, who emerged nicely. Philadelphia would be a thorn in our side, a 1-2, well, 2-1 loss. This is all in October, of course. Then we beat the Rangers, who were a pretty big disappointment again. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but that's okay. New Jersey Devils ended up being a tough one for us, 4-1 loss. And then a huge losing streak started up, and this was, again, after losing 3 in a row, you beat the Rangers, and then you start another massive losing streak. This is where coaches usually get fired early in the season. But John Hines is still here, baby. So good for him. Good for him. New Jersey, that's where both Bill Guerin and John Hines first met. Maybe sipping some Sierra Nevada IPA. Sierra Nevada Celebration IPA, by the way. That's the one that I was enjoying very much when I, around the time when you heard about when Bill Guerin first hired John Hines and they were, they first met kind of like having beers together and such in New Jersey way back in the day. Yep. But yeah, I guess those meetings really helped. Those hangouts, they're not meetings. 6-2 loss to Utah. 6-5 loss, back and forth craziness with the San Jose Sharks. Very entertaining battles with the Sharks, so the Wild seem to come up short in those all the time. 4-3 loss to Winnipeg and a 4-1 loss to Pittsburgh to wrap up the month of October. And then we finally stopped the snide to win a couple games in a row versus Vancouver and Nashville. We lose to the future, Stanley Cup finalists at the very least, Carolina Hurricanes. 4-3, they finally got back there. Real shot of winning it. We'll see. New York Islanders, you beat them 2-0 over Calgary. Beat San Jose. No, lose to San Jose, and all of a sudden the scoring goes completely quiet, and you lose to the Sharks 2-1. That's just weird and crazy. Anaheim Ducks, you shut them out. So a couple of shutouts there early on. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I don't think that was Wallstedt. I know Gustafson was the first shutout. It was Wallstedt. So Wallstedt did shut out the Calgary Flames, and he had this huge shutout streak. Yep, huge shutout streak. Yep, he shuts out the Calgary Flames, the Anaheim Ducks, Vegas Golden Knights, a back and forth battle. The Wild win that one in OT. Very fun for sure. Very fun for sure. Pardon me, I'm like going silent here on you, and I apologize, not meaning to do that. But yeah, that was Gustafson. That's what I thought. I just want to make sure who's who here. Yep, you beat Carolina. All right, nice back and forth. You beat them in a shootout, barely. Squeezed past them in a Wallstedt celebration there, getting a ton of shots on goal and stopping them. Wallstedt, ay caramba. Nope, this time Gustafson gets his shutout, so congratulations for him. Second shutout of the year, shutting the Pittsburgh Penguins out 5-0. And then you get the Winnipeg Jets, another shutout for the Minnesota Wild. So things started to change a little bit here. Wallstedt getting another shutout. You beat the Blackhawks. Yeah, so you get those shutouts versus Pittsburgh and Winnipeg. Winnipeg was disappointing this year, but they've always been a thorn in the side for the Minnesota Wild. Sorry, I think my mic was kind of not lined up real good here. Hope the audio wasn't too soft and weird. But yeah, Pittsburgh would resurge, and Winnipeg was always dangerous. And then you barely beat the Blackhawks 4-3. Okay. And then you beat the Colorado Avalanche. Oh my, huge one. You had to go to the shootout, but you beat them. Wallstedt has the big celebration, and the Colorado media makes fun of him. Like, oh, yeah, let's have a big celebration. Yeah, like you won the Stanley Cup. It's one bleeping game, da-da-da-da-da. That's basically what they were saying. And the Wild won. Unfortunately, the Wild would not be celebrating versus Colorado. It would be a gentleman's sweep and a terrible, stupid finish. But that'll be much later in this segment. Stupid way to end the season, but we ended the season, Buffalo, we never beat, and we lost. Bleepity bleep. So you lose. Buffalo was way the heck better this year than anybody could have imagined, and that's why Lindy Ruff, who has returned to Buffalo, good for him, or he had the majority of his success, and the last time Buffalo truly was successful, Lindy Ruff was the coach. They were the Prince of Wales Conference champions way back in 1999. A lot of people think they got robbed in that final goal by Brett Hull, and they probably did. And the Dallas Stars would win their first and only Stanley Cup to date. Should have been here. I remember thinking, like, yeah, they won. And then you look at the fans in the stands, and it's like, screw you. It's like my attitude changed, like, instantly. It was like, screw you. Bleeping Cowboys, Yuck. That was annoying. And I have no problem with Cowboys, but when it's our team and Okay, I'll get off of that. Volstedt opening up the month of December, which ended up being a very exciting month later in the month. But the Wild were starting to play better anyway, thank God. Volstedt being one of the heroes this year with another shutout, a 1-0 defeat of the Edmonton Oilers. Jack Morris style, right? Jack Morris, Minnesota Twins, 1991, in case you're wondering. Yeah, Volstedt with the shutout versus Edmonton, who had a chance to take him in the draft. The Wild traded up to get him with the Edmonton Oilers. So Edmonton Oilers may have a championship by now if, say, Volstedt developed into a good goalie a tiny bit earlier with that particular organization who needed him even more so because they didn't have Philip Gustafson. They could use either one of those guys, I'm sure, in Edmonton. They might have won a Stanley Cup in one of their 2 final appearances the last couple of years here, unfortunately, losing to Florida twice. That's right, losing to Florida twice. But anyhow, that would suck. God, that would suck so bad. Ugh, you like never want to see a Florida jersey the rest of your life after that. You'd be so mad, like Larry Bird with the Lakers way back in the 80s. Like, oh, he wanted to burn any Laker jersey he saw, I'm sure. Anyhow, they did beat them a couple of times, though. Anyhow, or at least once. The Calgary Flames lost. Yep, 4-1 loss to the Calgary Flames in December. I hope this doesn't get too boring if I keep going over the games, but it's just kind of looking at or analyzing things. It was a strange little 2-game losing streak on the road in as you head west a little bit, northwest to the Calgary Flames. Not the same Providence, of course. That would be Alberta. And then Vancouver's British Columbia. You lose both of those on the road. Then you beat Seattle on the road. Okay. But, of course, backtracking to Vancouver. Like, okay, you lost 4-2 to the Vancouver Canucks, but who'd have thunk within a week or so the Minnesota Wild would make the most exciting trade in the history of the franchise and acquire a star player for the Vancouver Canucks. I still remember getting the text from my friend Brent Jacobson. The Wild traded for Quinn Hughes. And sometimes, Brent Jacobson makes jokes and such, but it wasn't anything like an April Fool's or anything. But I was like, what the hell? Holy cow. But we'll get to that detail in a couple of seconds. Quinn Hughes played about 25 minutes, had 3 shots on goal, in particular against the Minnesota Wild. Hopefully the final game he ever plays against the Wild, that he'll be wearing the Christmas or North Star colors for the rest of the time. But the Wild did beat Seattle 4-1, beat the Dallas Stars 5-2, which is really exciting. And the trade took place on Friday the 12th. There was a Friday evening. All of a sudden, there's this trade, and it's like, oh my God, another one of those Friday news bombs, news drops, and that's what it was. Freaking exciting. Freaking exciting. Wild would play, the Minnesota Wild anyway, would play the what are they called? The Ottawa Senators the next day without Quinn Hughes. Not available at the moment. He was a scratch, you see. But, David Juracek would get to play in the game because of it, and Kierstadt. Because it's like, well, the Wild also traded away, of course, for Quinn Hughes. The Wild would trade away Zeev Boyum as well. So Zeev Boyum, obviously he was gone. And Liam Ogren was traded away along with Marco Rossi. So the Wild would have kind of a limited roster. You saw like Abel Kubel, Tyler Pitlick out there, Ben Jones, not Brent Jones, playing in the game. So it was a depleted lineup, but the Wild still defeated the Ottawa Senators 3-2. I'm sure they were frustrated. Pretty decent playoff team. I like the Senators. Not great, but they're good. Unfortunately, I think Brady Tkachuk could be gone, but who knows? Maybe he'll be coming here. He's another name that'll be brought up, I'm sure, including into segment number 2. Quinn Hughes would debut versus the Boston Bruins in Grand Casino Arena on Sunday, December the 14th. Merry Christmas, Minnesota Wild fans. Christmas Quinn would score a goal in his Minnesota Wild opener, almost 27 minutes, and the legendary pairing of Quinn Hughes, hopefully will be legendary anyway because they'll be here long enough to do it, to become that, would be Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber. They'd go on to win a gold medal together, paired together for the U.S. Olympic team. Absolutely gorgeous. David Juracek would remain in the lineup and everything, but I don't know, he wouldn't be with the Wild too much longer. God bless him. I do think the Wild did keep the right David, both from Czechia, if I'm saying it correctly. There's David Spacek and David Juracek. I do think the Wild kept the correct David, keeping Spacek. Unfortunately, the Wild gave up a ton for Juracek. That was supposed to be an exciting trade, but this one was and still is the Quinn Hughes acquisition. Beautiful stuff. Bullion, and yeah, we'll keep an eye on Bullion, but again, like I've said before, never really saw the star potential, at least since he got to the National Hockey League. You saw it with the Denver Pioneers, but you didn't really see it with the Minnesota Wild, and haven't seen it with Vancouver yet either. We'll see. Give him time and all that, we'll see, but Quinn Hughes didn't really need a whole lot of time. He was pretty good right away. So, just saying, Minnesota Wild would get another shutout versus the Washington Capitals. Another shutout. I always like to say Washington. I don't know why. This was Phil Gustafson getting another one. Like, both goalies were just playing like all-stars during this course of time. Huge win streak for the Minnesota Wild versus the Blue Jackets. You continue it versus the Blue Jackets, Edmonton Oilers. Wonderful. Obviously, the winning streak started before the Quinn Hughes trade. They had won 3 in a row. Officially, once Quinn Hughes had suited up for the Wild for the first time, they'd win the 4 in a row, so to speak. So a 7-game win streak. Then you get in reality sets in. You lose to the frickin' Avalanche 5-1. You lose to the Nashville Predators 3-2. Why do we always stink right before Christmas? I don't know why, but because that was December 23rd. Christmas break, 3 days off. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy for sure. For sure, the Minnesota Wild will beat the Winnipeg Jets 4-3. The Vegas Golden Knights 5-2, and they lose to the Sharks on New Year's Eve. A tradition the Wild tend to do is lose on New Year's Eve, and yes, to the bleeping Sharks, which has become a tradition as well. Happy New Year, happy Quinn year, whatever the heck you want to call it. Minnesota Wild beat the Ducks 5-2. And then you lose to the Kings, Los Angeles anyway. You stay in California. I used to call it the California curse. When the Wild would go visit, San Jose, Anaheim, and Los Angeles, and it usually wouldn't go well. Well, it really didn't. The Wild lost to the Sharks, and then they lost to the Kings twice, but we beat the Ducks. In the past, we used to almost always lose to the Ducks, and who knows? Like, the Wild history versus the Ducks was horrible until the last few years here, where it's been pretty dominant. God bless us for that. So, yeah, kind of meh start to the new year. Wild beat Seattle again 3-2, close game. A 4-3 loss to the Islanders. 5-2 loss to the New Jersey Devils, who would complete the sweep. The Hughes final, the Hughes Cup final, you could say. Unfortunately, we lost that. So Jack versus Quinn. Yep, a loss there, unfortunately. Jack and Luke, by the way, they are on the. They both are on the New Jersey Devils. And there's always a fear that, Quinn's going to go play for New Jersey, or who knows? Maybe the other guys come here, or at least one of them. Or they all just stay where they're at and rock and roll. Minnesota Wild would lose to Winnipeg again. What the heck? So a couple of ugly losses. 5-2 to New Jersey, 6-2 to Winnipeg. We beat Buffalo. We actually beat the Buffalo Sabres finally. A 5-2 win. Back and forth, crazy battle. You beat Toronto, who'd been a huge disappointment, 6-3. Montreal, a huge surprise, 4-3. Almost won the Cup this year. Detroit, who was a promising team and then finished horribly. Florida fell off the face of the earth, but no, you beat Detroit 4-3, lose to Florida 4-3, beat Chicago 4-3, beat Calgary 4-1, and then a demolition versus Edmonton 7-3. Absolutely wild, pun not intended, in Rogers Place. Fun stuff. Quinn Hughes. I mean, it was like almost every night Quinn Hughes would at least get 1 assist. I mean, off and on, he'd get 1 or 2 points. 2 assists, 1 assist, 2 assists. It would just be constant, and Wallstedt would always be strong. Generally speaking, when in that. Well, generally. Brock Faber would go from a guy who was looking way better, looking like the sophomore slump to junior jump. Like, you could say Faber had a frustrating year last year, or like, let's say the year before, so to speak. Yeah, his second year, he was kind of frustrated out there a bit. Great rookie year, Calder Cup kind of guy. Calder Trophy, not Cup, kind of guy. But, a great rookie year for Brock Faber. And then the second year, it was kind of frustrating and all that. You could tell he was frustrated, and, he just didn't really have a great pair with him. And then you get Quinn Hughes, and it's like a match made in heaven. I mean, you combine the guys' points together. I mean, Quinn Hughes had, 73? Brock Faber had 51. When you combine them all together, it's, over 100 points between two defensemen. It's pretty sick, as the young people might say. The wealth was pretty much spread all over the place with a 7-3 win. Nobody even had 2 goals in the game, but that's okay. Totally fine. fun sometimes, and you get to spread the wealth around, so to speak, which is what the Wild did to wrap up the month of January. You'd have your ups and downs. Yeah, you'd beat Montreal, you'd beat Nashville. Hell yes. You go to the Olympics, and of course, the U.S. would go on after some back and forth, fun, entertaining stuff to win the gold medal for the first time since 1980, a 46-year drought. Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber getting their gold medals. I mean, unbelievable. And what a memory they'll have for the rest of their life. There's no doubt about it. And Quinn Hughes would score the goal to put the U.S. into the, I think it was to the, I'm blanking now. I think this was to get them into the medal round, the official Final Four. It wasn't the gold medal game, if I remember correctly. So my apologies with that. The Wild would then come back with all kinds of confidence and beat the Colorado Avalanche 5-2. And the next night, you travel a little bit to Utah, not too far from Denver to Salt Lake City. You hang out in the mountains a little too long, and you get beat 5-2. Oh, well, that figures. Well, that was the end of February. You flew through that. The tight schedule the rest of the way. You lose to St. Louis 3-1. Beat Tampa 5-1. Wow. Beat Vegas 4-2. Colorado 3-2 loss. Kind of hung in there, but couldn't get the win. It was a shootout. Yep, that's what I thought. The Wild squeezed out a point. And then a 5-0 win over Utah. Finally, the Wild beat the Utah Mammoth. Finally. And boy, did they beat the hell out of them. Good for the Minnesota Wild. Tarasenko with a couple of assists in that one. Faber was all over the ice. Great, strong performance for him. Philip Gustafsson, great. The Wild did make their acquisition during the trade deadline of Michael McCarron. Yes, we did re-sign him. We'll talk about that in segment number 2, though, more so. But yes, the Wild did re-sign Michael McCarron. So didn't think we were going to necessarily. Thought his price was going to be too high. But the term was long. Yep, we'll talk about it. I mean, yes, it was a 6-year, $20 million basically, or 19.5 at 3.3 ABV. We'll talk about that more in segment 2, but just throw it in there. Well, also acquired Bobby Brink during the trade deadline, who had his ups and downs. He would score one of the goals versus the Utah Mammoth, but not the greatest, most exciting acquisition. Then, of course, Petrie was an addition, older guy, and Fabry was earlier, basically like a 14th forward. Fabry, 13th or 14th forward, but probably more of an NHLer than Ben Jones, but not so much. We'll talk about that some more in segment 2 as to their potential future or lack thereof. The Wild would then lose to both Philadelphia and New York. Get swept by the Flyers. Lose to Toronto 4-2. You split with those guys. You split with the Rangers in Toronto. And then you split a back and forth game with Colorado, a home and home after a day off in between Chicago and Minnesota, or St. Paul, we'll say, Grand Casino. The road team would win both games there. Funky and weird. The Wild would beat the Stars again. It's like, are we solving the Stars? 2-1 victory there in an epic, close game. And it was pretty much from like a month before this game. It's like, it's going to be the Wild and the Stars. Heck, it might have been 2 months before, because it looked like we were pretty much stuck at 2-3 in the in our division, our Central Division. So kind of funny. Everybody kind of saw that coming. It's going to be Minnesota versus Dallas. We're probably going to lose in the first round again. It's total bullcrap. Thankfully, that wouldn't be the case. Quinn Hughes would assist on both goals, so very cool. And Gustafsson would end a pretty strong performance, stopping 29-30. So very exciting in that one. A 6-3 demolition loss after you beat them 5-1 at the beginning of the month. Much later in the month, Tampa Bay smashes the Wild 6-3. So the home teams would win both of those. The Wild finally beat the frickin' Florida Panthers. Seems like we always lose to them. Road teams would win both games in that little season series. Florida would finish above 500, but it didn't matter for diddly. It was barely above 500. And then a pretty nasty loss. I feel like everything was starting to fall apart around this time, late March. A 6-3 loss versus the Boston Bruins. And I started having these weird visions in my head while watching this game. Like, this is going to be the Cup Final. Somehow, it's going to be the Cup Final. Maybe not this year, maybe in a year or two, but I have a feeling, just this weird, creepy feeling. Boston and Minnesota will face off in the Stanley Cup Final. Maybe, but it certainly didn't happen this year. Jeff Petrie would play in the game. God bless him. Bless his heart. Quinn Hughes is a -3. So around this time, Hughes was probably running into some fatigue. 31 minutes on the ice. Let's not Ryan Suter this, Quinn, now. Come on. We love you, Quinn. We love you. Don't think he's nearly as selfish as Ryan Suter. And yes, I still remember fans getting annoyed with me for calling him, whatever, like not a good guy. Like, he was a great guy. I met him, and he was awesome, and he was really nice to us, my whole family. Yeah, that's good. I mean, God bless you. But I mean, if you were in the same locker room, it probably would be a little different. A little different. He's going to treat the fans way better than his teammates, I think, unfortunately, which is okay. It's great that you treat the fans well, but I think treat everybody well. That's a better way to go. Treating the fans good is yeah, yeah, of course you should. Of course. But, it's like you're at work and you're in business, whatever, so to speak. You treat certain people real well, but not the people you work directly with well. That's kind of lame. Treat everybody well, you schmuck. Okay, anyhow, April, big busy month of April because you got, you got the playoffs. Yeah, you got to go through about half the month and then you get the playoffs. 5-2 win over the Canucks, 4-1 win over Ottawa. You sweep them. 5-4 win over Detroit. You split with them. Seattle, it was a great season versus them. Lots of fun. 5-2. 5-4 loss to the Dallas Stars in our final game before the playoffs. Final game against each other, and this pretty much sealed the deal. The Dallas Stars would have home ice advantage. This was in American Airlines Center, and a lot of us saw this 5-4 loss as a harbinger for things to come. Like the Wild would be in it, but the Stars were just better, and so frustrating. And it felt like some frustration really set in as the Wild would then lose to Nashville and St. Louis. Ugh. But we'd win our season finale, wahoo, 3-2 over the Anaheim Ducks. And obviously, the third seed was set. Jesper Wallstedt would be in goal, kind of priming him up for the playoffs because he was going to be the goalie in the playoffs, which, a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be Gustafsson. Yeah, but it should be Wallstedt. Don't make that mistake. Wild would scratch Joel Eriksson Ek, of course, before he got hurt. Kirill Kaprizov, Quinn Hughes, Ryan Hartman, Boldy, Spurgeon, Zuccarello, Foligno, Faber, and Bogosian. But this is, again, Brodin was back out on the ice, kind of getting going again because he'd been coming back from a previous injury, son of a gun, before he'd get hit in the ankle with a puck, blocking a shot. So, wonderful. Depressing, sad. Foot, not ankle, foot. Toe, actually. It was a toe. I think it was his left big toe that broke or cracked or whatever the heck, got hit with the puck. And that would hurt like the dickens. I mean, you can only imagine. Yeah, I mean, it happens. We've all been hit in the toe by something, or you stub it. And imagine like a slap shot. It hurt like the dickens, man. Hurt like the dickens. Yep, McCarron would prove to be a super viable player in the postseason. But this was kind of like, let's get out of here alive, and the Wild did, and they won the game too. Wallstedt would face 35 shots. The Ducks were trying to get ready for their postseason as well. They had 4 less wins than the Wild and 9 more losses. Definitely an inferior team going into the postseason. Would have been nice to play them in a series or, in the playoffs, but wasn't meant to be. Yes, sir. So you had 3 days off. You would go into Dallas, Texas, and beat the Stars 6-1 in the season opener or the playoff opener. Shocking. Wallstedt would face 28 shots and stop 27. Zuccarello, Kaprizov were wonderful. Couple goals for Joel Eriksson Ek. Couple goals for Boldy. Oh, Joel Eriksson Ek. Breaks your heart, Breaks your heart how well he is a perfect player for the postseason for this team. That's the thing. Perfect player for the postseason for this team. It just breaks your heart thinking about that. Tarasenko would open up the postseason quiet, and everybody was like, yeah, we should probably sit him down for Brink, or, obviously the Wild would even scratch you off in some games. But I kept thinking Tarasenko was going to score an important goal for this team at some point. The Wild would then fall behind 2-1, losing 4-2 in games. 4-2 in game 2 and 4-3 at home. That was a heartbreaker. The Wild thought we had that one, and everything would kind of fall apart. It would go into double overtime, and the Wild would lose. The Wild would blow this one, blow the lead, not score the clutch goal to put us past the Dallas Stars. Thankfully, it wasn't the end, though. Wallstedt would face 36 shots, but the Wild would not end up winning. Yep. The 4-2 game, I forget when Gustafsson. Yeah, that was later on after the Colorado series. Well, then we'd have a similar game, very similar game, but slightly better play going into OT again in game number 4, and thankfully tie the series up. And it's like, whew, we're still alive. We still have a shot at this. And then the game that changed everything, the Wild would just simply outplay the Dallas Stars in Dallas. A 4-2 victory. Amazing night. Michael McCarron would score an extremely clutch goal, and this was one of the, it just kind of probably helped seal the deal, like we got to keep this guy. because, oh, he's capable of winning faceoffs. He's a big physical son of a gun. He wants to be here. Can't be that expensive. Yes, he's going to get a raise because he never even made like $1 million a year, I think. So, which is crazy to imagine. Even though he's like 30, big, huge guy, talented, but obviously knows his role. He's not trying to do too much, and you don't want to put him on the second line. He's a third or fourth line guy, and but scored that super clutch goal to help put the Wild in business and win this game. And wow, what a huge win! When you win on the road in Game 5 to take a 3-2 lead, and you get to come back home with an opportunity of a lifetime to close out a team that has been a bully to you forever. It felt like $1 million, and the Wild did it. A 5-2 victory over the Dallas Stars to close out the series at home. The Wild actually closed out a series at home. Unfortunately, along the way, both Boldy and Brodin would get hurt. As we know, Brodin would would break his toe, and then did I say Boldy? Both Julerx and Ek and Brodin. Julerx and Ek would slide into the wall. I do believe that was Game 4, wasn't it? Yep, that's where it was kind of a surprise. Like we actually showed up and got it done. It's like, yes, why in the fuck? Everything, you bump something and it screws everything up. Yep, Brodin, this was, I believe, when it happened in Game 4, if I remember correctly, or Game 5. Julerx and Ek was playing, Julerx and Ek played 28 minutes, but it did go to OT. That's the big part of it. Yes, this was the one. This is the one. Game 5 was the one. Yes, you won the game, but you had some costly losses. Unfortunately, both Brodin. Yeah, Brodin had played about 7.5 minutes, and that's when he took the block shot and never returned to the ice. And Julerx and Ek slid into the wall. So extremely devastating in terms of that. You go into Game 6, like, yay, we won. Oh my God! But then you lost 2 extremely important players. Going into Game 6, thinking, why does it always happen to us? Actually, it was Game 6 for Julerx and Ek, but Brodin would be out. Game 6 for Julerx and Ek. I get this mixed up way too much, and I deeply apologize. It was Game 6 for Julerx and Ek that he slid into the wall. That's what it was. He won the series, but Julerx and Ek slid into the wall and broke his talus bone, which is like the center of the ankle, kind of the center area. I apologize for getting that mixed up. But yes, Julerx and Ek, he would come back on the ice like, okay, all right, he's going to be fine. But then, no, he wasn't, unfortunately. And you keep hearing from Russo, these are more serious than people, these are actually serious injuries, which told you it's probably a broken bone or a really bad sprain. It's not like a bruise where it's all about pain tolerance. No, it just sounded like broken bone, especially Brodin, but then it's like Julerx and Ek as well. And when you saw the way he went into the wall, it looked almost, it looked very similar to what happened to Ryan Suter, and it was the same injury, basically. But they're not making as big a deal of it as with Ryan Suter at the time. Because, like, Suter, it might have been, like, a more severe version of it, where he, like I was saying, he had to be completely immobilized, which made things so complicated. So there was that. Whereas with Julerx and Ek, you don't hear it as much. But, again, like, he was even trying to play on it. But then it's like, nope. It's like, nope, this isn't going to work. It's not going to happen. It's tried to skate, and it's like, no, that's okay. And Brodin, forget about it. It's a broken toe. So, bloody hell. You heard about where the injuries were after the playoffs, after the Wild got knocked out. That's what Bill Guerin was talking about in the season-ending press conference. But, of course, yes, you did beat the Dallas Stars. It was wonderful. But you'd already lost Brodin. Now you lose Julerx and Ek, and you get to play the Colorado Avalanche. And, well, it wasn't that great of a series. Game 1 was fun and entertaining. You fall behind 3-0 right away, which felt just like the Blackhawks all those years ago. As you head into the month of May, the wonderful month of May, to play the Colorado Avalanche. Cale Makar would be a huge factor. In this first game, he'd have 3 points. Devin Taves at 4. Holy crap. Nikos, would have 3 assists in the game. Wild would be in it. McCarron would get an assist. Marcus Johansson would have a big goal, surprisingly. And Vladimir Tarasenko would score, all those guys. But it was a back and forth 9-6 battle. Jasper Wallstedt gave up 8 goals officially. Extremely frustrating. The 9th one was an empty netter to wrap it up. So Wild were still in it, 8-6, but would end up losing the game 9-6. Back and forth. They fall behind 3-0. They tie it up. They eventually take a 5-4 lead to the Wild, but then it was like 5 seconds later, Colorado would score. And it was just extremely frustrating. Like, it just felt like there was no defense, and Jesper Wallstedt was fried for the most part. It's like, okay, I guess we have to sit him out and see what happens with Gustafsson. And the Wild lose 5-2 in Colorado with Philip Gustafsson in net. Just mediocre performance. He only faced 22 shots. He'd give up 4 goals officially, and then the empty netter would take place. He had mediocre play in front of him as well. Colorado was just the better team in this game, and of course, not having Julerksson or Brodin didn't help at all. 3 whole days later, Jesper Wallstedt would return to the net. The Wild would win 5-1, looking really good in game number 3, doing basically everything right, according to the coaches and the GMs and such, Bill Guerin and John Hines, of course, and the assistant coaches. The Wild were doing everything the coaches and GM asked for. Brock Faber would have 3 points in the game. Hughes would have 2. Each of them would have a goal as well, to go along with their 3 points. That was part of it. Wallstedt would face 36 shots, and the Wild just kicked the Colorado Avalanche's butt. And then game 4 happened, and it was like polar opposite. Feel like the Wild were in it most of the way, because you saw empty net goals and such. But it was like the Wild were not keeping up with the game plan. In fact, they were just like doing their own thing out there. And Colorado made them pay time and time again, and the Wild ended up losing. Wallstedt would face 29 shots and only give up 3. He wasn't that bad at all. A couple of empty netters, and the Wild would lose. Game that was close, but just the execution wasn't there. The Wild looked like they were going to win game 5 in Colorado. Everything felt good. You take a 3-0 lead. It was so fun. Like, oh my God, this is going to happen. We're going to come back, and maybe, who knows? Maybe we're going to pull off a 2003 all over again. But you got to win game 6 to get to game 7 first. But who knows? Imagine if we got all that pressure on Colorado, and Cale Makar, who'd been showing signs of injury, would suddenly be out like he was against the Vegas Golden Knights, or harbinger there, of course. But then ultimately, no. The Wild would cough up the 3-0 lead and then lose in overtime. Unbelievable. The Wild could not get that empty net goal to wrap things up, make it 4-2, and you come back to Grand Casino Arena, and who knows? Who knows what happens? Again, Cale Makar would have most likely been out for game 6. Like 99.9999% chance he would have been out. But guess what? That game never happened. Game 6 was just air. Just like Air World for Atari. It was just air. Yep, the game never existed. Game 6 never existed, and Air World for Atari 2600 never existed because of the video game crash. There, I threw that in there. It's all it was. Heartbreaking. Sad. An opportunity just thrown away. Because the Wild probably had a real shot at beating Colorado without Cale Makar. Because Vegas pretty much kicked their butts. Because they swept them and went to the Cup Final. And we'll talk about the Vegas Golden Knights and Carolina Hurricanes in the next segment. As for the final awards for 25-26, the most valuable player for the Minnesota Wild in 25-26, in my mind, is Quinn Hughes. And we'll just I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. I'll save the votes for segment 3. On the poll, though, the candidates are Quinn Hughes, Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, Jesper Wallstedt. So those are the candidates I put out there. And yes, that's who I feel deserve to be there. There's always an option to add another player like a Brock Faber, which I don't blame you one bit for adding him to that list. Biggest disappointment, Philip Gustafsson, Jake Middleton, Nico Sturm, Jonas Brodin, and there's always a possibility as well. Yep, my vote is for Jake Middleton. I thought he was very disappointing. The whole year it just felt like, what's going on? What happened to Jake Middleton this year? Just didn't seem like the same guy, only 16 points. And it's not just the point total. Like, the defense wasn't the same. He looks a lot more like a third pair like we originally thought he was. Whereas the last couple of years, it's like, oh, this guy's legit. He's really good. At least a 4, or maybe just a phenomenal third pair. But to me, he was very disappointing and into the postseason. He was pretty horrible, to be blunt. He was horrible. Horrible. So Jake Middleton will get the Brave the Wild official biggest disappointment of the year. Biggest surprise of the year. Candidates Jesper Wallstedt, Danila Yurov, Vladimir Tarasenko because of the nice renaissance, and Yakov Trenin looking like a lot more valuable piece than he certainly was his first year here. Way more valuable. A lot more like the guy you might have been hoping for when you signed him to the amount and term that you did. Biggest surprise of the year, Jesper Wallstedt for me, because, well, I mean, he struggled so much. It's like, generally speaking, is he a huge surprise? you're thinking no, because he was a first round pick, and a lot of people saw him as this phenom of a goalie coming into that draft and after the draft. Like, yeah, this guy is your goalie of the future, and you're hoping that maybe a Philip Gustafson and him, they can come in as the backup to Gus, become a platoon with Gus, and then eventually become the starter, and Gus either becomes the backup or gets traded somewhere else to be a starter again, and then you develop another guy behind him or sign a veteran to be the backup. But that's how you saw it, and you're hoping. But then a couple of lousy years with Iowa, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Getting shelled in his first ever NHL game by the Dallas Stars, who he ended up beating in a series. So he's definitely overcome that. Jesper was not only the biggest surprise, generally speaking, in terms of how great he was. It's not just because how good he was, but, well, it's not just that he was surprising. It's how dominant he was, is what I'm trying to say. The amount of shutouts, and then he won a playoff series. He basically was the most valuable player for the Minnesota Wild versus the Dallas Stars. Not Quinn Hughes, it was Jesper Wallstedt. So he was spectacular in that series. So he's the biggest surprise for me. We'll see what you guys voted in segment number 3. Rhyme not intended, but it worked, and it was kind of fun. With that, we'll take us a quick break and jump into segment number 1.5, where we will talk about our new Stanley Cup champion. It all comes down to this: a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sports app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers, sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN for the Hockey Podcast Network, of course. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Bet tax pass through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in prediction dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks, expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Ends June 28th. Terms at dkng.com/audio. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, State of the Wild, segment 1.5. Segment 1.5 to talk about the Stanley Cup Final or finals or whatever. And, well, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Apparently it is a tradition. Whenever the Vegas Golden Knights go to the Stanley Cup Final, the Stanley Cup is clinched in Las Vegas, and that is not with the Vegas Golden Knights winning in 6, because unfortunately they lost a couple games in a row after going up 2-1. They ended up losing the next 2, unfortunately. Carolina just started showing us what exactly they were doing in the Eastern Conference to get to the Stanley Cup Final. Why they only lost 1 game to get to the Stanley Cup Final. And they end up shutting out the Vegas Golden Knights on their ice. Brendan Bussey, one of the great stories of this series. And the Carolina Hurricanes, indeed, are the Stanley Cup champions. I had been picking them pretty much for a while. I'd kind of changed my vote. I'm like, it's going to be Colorado. It's going to be Colorado. And it's like, no, it's going to be Carolina. I just kind of felt it. Felt it. And then it eventually did happen. No, I'm no genius, of course. Nobody, I'm no genius. It's just a feel. And similar with the New York Knicks, obviously. So New York Knicks, you could just kind of feel it coming. As great as the San Antonio Spurs, everybody thought they're so great and they're going to win whatever. They're going to win tons of championships and this is going to be the first of many and all that good stuff. But it's like, no, the New York Knicks were playing on a run That was insane. It was an unprecedented run, whether it was in the Eastern Conference or they got lucky draws or not. It didn't matter. Carolina sure as heck didn't really run into lucky draws in the postseason. They just kind of steamrolled through everybody. Credit to the Vegas Golden Knights, though. I mean, who gave them the toughest battle? The Vegas Golden Knights. And wow, look at that. Mike Riley holding the Stanley Cup. This is all kind of happening right now in front of me. One of the people you feel the most happy for, at least in my case, is Rod Brind'Amour. 20 years ago, he won the Stanley Cup with this very franchise. 20 years ago, Stanley Cup with the franchise. I'm bringing over my Hartford Whalers hat now. You can maybe hear that thing flopping around near the mic and scraping the mic a little bit. Hartford Whalers, yep. So this one's shout out to the Hartford Whalers, I suppose, even though they'll be like, whatever, it's North Carolina, just like when the Stars won. It was fun for us, but still, watching another city celebrate our team winning stunk at the time. I still remember when Rod Brind'Amour's Carolina Hurricanes won it in 2006 over the Edmonton Oilers, and Yahoo Sports, the headline was Whale of a Day. And the Whalers, Whale of a Day. Kind of sad in a way, but but were they 9 years removed from leaving Hartford to becoming the Carolina Hurricanes? It's a cool name, it's a cool color scheme and all that good stuff. You know, it is. Whales and hurricanes, I guess they all kind of go together with the ocean, I suppose. So they stuck on the Eastern Conference. Rod Brind'Amour, what the heck was that? He got the cup and he just kind of flipped it and grabbed it with his hands. Whoa. But no, I mean, I can imagine what it feels like for him, how close this team was the last 8 years. Pretty much his whole time as head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, they've been in it. Whoa, he is spinning that thing around. They're like, hey, take it easy, man. No, geez, what if that thing dropped? It's only like 120 years old. I mean, geez, or at least the top of it is anyway. The top of it's where the actual cup part is. The rest of it's kind of like the structure and the rings and everything, as you may have heard of over the many, many years. Rod Brind'Amour, though, yes, very happy for him. Vegas Golden Knights, great, unbelievable run, great Cinderella finalist at the end of the day. Even though they had tons and tons of talented players, it had been such a disappointing regular season. Nonetheless, they still ended up winning a division that ended up being kind of mediocre. A lot of people thought, oh, they had easy draws along the way. But once they swept the Colorado Avalanche, it's like, oh, they're a real threat to win the whole thing. And then they win they win 2 out of the first 3 games of the Cup Final. And it's like, yeah, they have a real shot at this. But at the end of the day, Carolina clearly was the best team. Just like in the basketball world, once again in the Eastern Conference, the other side, in the basketball world, the New York Knicks were clearly the best team in this postseason. New York Knicks and Carolina Hurricanes definitely kind of paralleling each other in excellence in this postseason. Absolute excellence. I believe both teams went 16-3, didn't they? I think that's right. The New York Knicks lost 2 games, ironically, at the very beginning of their playoff run. They lost the very first game of the postseason, the New York Knicks, to the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks, you think, would be the weakest opponent they played, but they just kind of steamrolled through everybody else. What did they win, like 12 games in a row? And only lost 1 to a great Spurs team. Well, a very talented Spurs team, not a great Spurs team. Their IQ wasn't high enough. And then on Carolina's side, just kind of steamrolling through, kicking everybody's butt. And then, Vegas is kind of serious here. Whoa. They won game 1 like the North Stars did in 91. They won game 3 like the North Stars did. But unlike the North Stars, with Mario Lemieux being out for game 3, Vegas did it they just kind of did it. A back and forth, lots of great overtime games in this series. A great Stanley Cup Final, to be quite honest. Just, I would have liked to see Vegas win, but at the end of the day, I'm thrilled for the Carolina Hurricanes as well. Absolutely thrilled. It's like you're sad, I'm one of the few people out there that isn't from Las Vegas that likes the Golden Knights. I've been a fan since day one. I've mentioned it in the past, but this is a rare case where either team winning and you feel pretty good about it. And in a lot of ways, Carolina, I mean, it's been 20 years since they won their first. And, well, this is the first time you could say I wasn't like rooting for them big time in the final. Even though, because back in 2006, I hated the Oilers. Like, that was a nasty team. Nasty, physical, kind of obnoxious team. And they were in our division back then, the Northwest Division. Kind of just clutch and grab era of hockey, the early 2000s. It was a frustrating team to play against. The Edmonton Oilers. but I was kind of rooting for Dwayne Rolliston at the same time, so it would have been kind of cool for him. Um, so that would have been nice, but unfortunately, they ultimately didn't win. Dwayne Rolliston got hurt in Game 6, and then couldn't play in Game 7, and Carolina just won the Stanley Cup. And Rod Brind'Amour got his championship, and I thought that was one of the coolest things ever. A very young, extremely talented guy in his second year of his career. What was he in? Number one overall pick by the name of Eric Stahl, 100-point season. A lot of people saw him as a superstar back then. Yes, Hall of Fame level player, of course, without a doubt, but he never reached 100 points again, sadly. What was it? Doug Waite was on that team, but he had a shoulder problem, and when he got the Stanley Cup, he could barely hold it up. It was like, that sucks. I believe it was Rod Brind'Amour handed him the cup, like, yes, here you go, because Rod was the captain. And, oh, shoot, he could barely hold it up. But it's like, what the heck? At least Doug Waite got a Stanley Cup out of it. Hell of a player back in the day, physical, tough guy. I think he was a former Edmonton Oiler, ironically. So he beat his former club in the final back then. Nice to see some Minnesota ties here. Too bad that Brent Burns wasn't on this team. That's one major thing that I wish could have happened. I wish Brent Burns was on this team. Doggone it. So I wound up going to the Colorado Avalanche. They had the best record in the league and all that, but unfortunately the President's Trophy is a borderline curse. Teams like the 89 Calgary Flames, they just went all the way and won it and kicked butt. But there aren't that many 89 Calgary Flames type of President's Trophy teams out there for whatever reason. Brandon Bussey, again, great story after Frederik Andersen was getting shelled a bit by this Vegas team. If Frederik Andersen remained in net, there's a pretty good chance the Vegas Golden Knights would have their second Stanley Cup right now in this 6th game. Like, there's a pretty good chance that it would be Vegas right now. You'd be seeing Mark Stone instead of Jordan Stahl, the Conn Smythe winner. Congratulations, holding the Stanley Cup right now, as he has it again. Obviously, he was the original recipient of the cup, but because he's the captain. And he got the Conn Smythe, so it's kind of fun. It's like, but Gary Bettman said, okay, Jordan, come right back over here, because he just took the Conn Smythe. But, came back over for the Stanley Cup because he's the captain. Great story there. Obviously, he won the Stanley Cup way back. Not obviously, but he did win the Stanley Cup way back with Bill Guerin and guy by the name of Sidney Crosby, Marc-Andre Fleury. You ever heard of those guys before? Malkin. Way back in 2009, a very, very young Jordan Stahl, younger brother of Eric Stahl from Thunder Bay, which is practically in Minnesota, but it is a part of Ontario. Believe it or not Manitoba, but Ontario. I'd been in Thunder Bay once, way back in 1986. So pretty cool. I believe that's about when Eric Stahl was like, he was probably a 2-year-old baby back then. And I don't know if Jordan was born yet. I don't think, no, he couldn't have been because he's not 40. He was 40 whole bleeping years ago as a little 6 or 7-year-old. It was 86. We were in Thunder Bay, my only time in Canada, and I loved it. Just loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world to be in Canada of all places, but and to be in Thunder Bay. But it was just for 3 days. But man, it was cool. It was a cool experience, and wish we could go back maybe someday. So it's just it's a long drive. It is. It was a fun trip though, and it was way back 40 whole bleeping years ago. Yes, I'm getting old. But no, Jordan Stahl getting his Stanley Cup. I don't know why I'm going down all those weird rabbit holes. Winning a Stanley Cup very early in his career and winning one very late. One of the oldest, he was the oldest Conn Smythe Trophy winner. So pretty cool. Nice story for him, joining a team where his brother played and won the cup all those years ago. And guys you can feel for on the Vegas side, I think Carter Hart especially could feel for him in a huge way. Kind of up and down runs there. Very highly touted with Philadelphia. Kind of had his ups and downs, struggled a bit. Had some good moments, some not so good moments. Generally good. Wound up with Vegas, going all the way in the playoff run and then not getting it. Hopefully he'll have another shot at it, one way or another. Mitch Marner, an amazing playoffs for him. And I remember when the Vegas Golden Knights took the 2-1 lead, and everybody's like, oh my God, Vegas is going to win it, and da-da-da-da-da. And then Mitch Marner clearly stated, hey, it's a long way to go. Thank you, but we got a long way to go here, because winning 2 more games in the Cup Final is not easy. And they didn't even win one more. That was it. So very telling statements by Mitch Marner at the time. Some people are probably like, "Ha ha," but I'm not. I'm not celebrating Mitch Marner losing the Stanley Cup Final. Um, but I will celebrate the just the general Carolina Hurricanes getting it done. I mean, it's great. You know, Frederick Anderson is a guy you feel really happy for all those years with Toronto. And he was pretty damn good. He'd run into some injury issues off and on, but pretty damn good with Carolina. Except by the time they got to the Cup Final, he'd kind of run into some struggles here. And then a guy by the name of Brandon Busty, who stated that, yeah, I mean, Rod Brindamore believed in me, and it worked out oh so great. Brandon Busty, 27 years of age, coming out of South Beach, New York. Not Florida, but South Beach, New York. 27 years of age, 6'4", undrafted. Finally got to play. He was an AHL goaltender with the Providence Bruins. That would be with the Boston Bruins organization. He was with Western Michigan, too. Obviously, that was not when they were national champions. Decent goalie, but wound up in the Bruins organization and even played in the ECHL for a little bit early on with the Maine Mariners. You don't really hear about them a whole lot, do you? Providence Bruins, though, the last 3 seasons before this year, and kept the goals against average at about 2.5, and then didn't play a single game in the AHL this year. 39 games with the Carolina Hurricanes. 39, not bad. 2.44 goals against average. Clearly a guy that was decent, but also had some good play in front of him. Because, I mean, if his goals against average is only 2.44, it's kind of like this is the opposite of one of the Wild's goaltender prospects in the system. Didn't face a whole lot of shots, because if his goals against average is 2.44 and his save percentage is 89.5, it's like, huh. So that's where the whole total team effort conversation really comes into play. And Carolina is a total team. You know, there's not really, they're not really filled with superstars. You know, it's not like a superstar-filled team. Sebastian Aho, yeah, 80 points. Nicola Ehlers, yeah, he scored the opening goal of the Cup Final and the final goal of the Cup Final. So Svechnikov, nice player, 70 points there. Seth Jarvis, a tough son of a gun. He's still only 23. Remember, he was in the Marco Rossi draft. 66 points. I mean, it looks like we'd rather have Seth Jarvis, huh? Shoot. Sure looks like it. Dang. Taylor Hall finally getting a Stanley Cup. Hell yeah, good for him. 30. He's only 33. That's weird. It feels like he'd be like 41 or something. But good for Taylor Hall. Finally getting a Stanley Cup. I feel like he's been kind of all over the place. He won multiple championships in the OHL, you know, about 17 years ago. Number 1 overall pick by the Oilers. Great seasons there. Spectacular year in New Jersey. In 17-18, 93 points, a nice resurgence after kind of getting hurt a bit and kind of in some not superstarish years with the Blackhawks, kind of becoming a role player. Blackhawks, Edmonton Oilers, sorry. Wound up with the Blackhawks later, became a role player. Boston as well. He was pretty decent there. Some nice teams in Boston, but no cup. Wound up in Carolina, definitely had a wonderful renaissance. His best point total since 22. 48 points this year, 80 games too. Way to stay healthy there, and then clinch a Stanley Cup. So finally, 33 years of age. Feels like he's older, doesn't it? So Taylor Hall, you hear that name, it's like, oh, he's 34. Sorry. So this was inaccurate. Yep, and Mike Riley winning a Stanley Cup, losing the national championship with to that stupid Union when they just kind of steamrolled the Gophers. Gophers defense was soft, and Mike Riley skilled but kind of soft, not a physical guy at all with the Gophers all those years ago. Could not get the national championship against Union. And then wound up signing with the Minnesota Wild for a little while. It was nice, but he struggled defensively. Kind of became a journeyman with Montreal, Ottawa, Boston. You know, he became an okay player. 24 points for the Islanders 2 seasons ago, and then clinches a Stanley Cup with Carolina. Good for him. So nice little story there. Mike Riley, congratulations. That's definitely a Minnesota tie there, at least with the Gophers. He's actually from Illinois, of all places, Glenview, Illinois. That's funny. But a Gopher tie. I wish Eric Halla was on this team. Doggone it. Skylar Brindamore. There you go. Skylar Brindamore, born in Raleigh, North Carolina. So not with the Hartford Whalers or anything, but Skylar Brindamore, 6th-round pick. Couple of games in the NHL. 4 games this year. Mostly with the Chicago Wolves, otherwise in the AHL. But Brandon Brosy's one of the better stories, no doubt about it. Trying to look at some of these other players so I don't miss anyone crucial. Like, oh, duh. Oh, yes, and Keandre Miller. There you go. There's one right there. Keandre Miller from St. Paul, Minnesota. Ever heard of that place? Yes, where the Minnesota Wild actually play. I'm guessing Mr. Keandre Miller went to a few Wild games growing up. Played most of his career with New York Islanders so far. He was a first round pick, 22nd overall in 2018, not all that long ago. And I remember hearing people were excited about him in the draft. Unfortunately, what am I talking about? No, his numbers have been good. I'm not going to say he's been disappointing. Really hasn't been. I mean, 22nd overall pick, you're not expected to be a superstar necessarily. It'd be nice if you were. And it's like, no, a really nice defenseman with some skills. So what am I talking about? I'm running my mouth like a fool here. 43 points with the Rangers, but a nice acquisition for Carolina in the offseason. 37 points and a Stanley Cup champion. Congratulations to St. Paul's Keandre Miller, 6'5", the beast, left shot defenseman. Wouldn't mind him here, quite frankly. We could use a little help. As long as he can stay healthy, unlike a certain left shot defenseman that we love very much, but can't bleep and stay healthy. Yeah, so very cool story to have a St. Paulian clinching a Stanley Cup. And of course, again, Mike Riley with the Gophers. That national championship game was frustrating as hell. Those guys could not move the those guys could not get the puck out of the zone. They couldn't get the puck even out of the crease. They were just so soft, and Union just steamrolled us right into the ground in that stupid game. And I'm still bitter about it. Oh yeah, I am. I hate losing. I hate getting, I hate losing. At least the Gophers got to the national championship, whereas like all of our men's teams since the Minnesota Twins getting to the World Series and winning it in '91 haven't been back to a championship round at all. The Vikings, the Wild, the North Stars, of course, in the last 2 years they were here after that. Vikings, Wild, Wolves, Timberwolves, and of course the Twins did not get back to the World Series. Got to one ALCS, but got killed by the frickin' California Angels. That was BS, or Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles, or Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, or the Anaheim Angels of Satan's butthole. I guess that's what some people call California when it's hot and burning up like fires all the time. All right, I'll get off of that stupid comment. I apologize for that. That's what I've heard, though. That's what some Californians call it. So, because of the constant fires, that's the reason, not to be stupid or perverted or anything. Yeah, congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes. It has been they've been an incredible organization for years. Incredible, and it's nice to see it finally pay off. It truly is. So congratulations to the Hartford Whalers, especially. No, I wish it was the Hartford Whalers. You have no idea how much I wish it was the Hartford Whalers, but I guess it just has to be the Carolina Hurricanes because Hartford just wasn't able to hang on to them for financial reasons, I suppose. I mean, they were the only team Hartford had, other than Hartford Wolfpack, I guess, in the AHL now, and that's their professional hockey team now. So it is what it is. With that said, congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes one final time. And we will be back to talk about the future for the Minnesota Wild. Will we ever get to see the Christmas or North Star colors hoist the stinking cup? Will we ever get to see it happen? Will it be Brock Faber being the recipient, the first guy holding it? Who knows? But rather than finding out who's the first guy to hold the cup, just will it be the freaking Wild finally holding a Stanley Cup? Wouldn't that be a beautiful story? I mean, it's just every time you see whoever, the Golden Knights, the Hurricanes, the Florida Panthers the last 2 years, when is it going to be our turn? When is it going to be our turn to hoist that thing up and we can finally just let loose? Like, oh my God. Like Carolina waiting 20 years and Rod Brindamore waiting 8, doing such a great job there. How they got to finally yes, we did it. I mean, we're talking 1967 and then the 7 years of no team and then getting the Wild. We're still waiting. It's a long time. All right, so enough of my rambling. We'll just ramble some more about the future of the Minnesota Wild in the official segment number 2 coming up after this. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2 officially. Time to talk about the, the future of the Minnesota Wild with the draft, free agency draft, trades, that kind of thing. It's probably going to be more trades than anything, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. You never know. We might end up having to wait until next year's trade deadline again. Christmas, or even not even trade deadline, just random, random time before the trade deadline at Christmas, during Christmas season last year with Quinn Hughes. I mentioned that before. Of course, once again, congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes winning the Stanley Cup. But what's really weird is what took place before we get to the Wild is, you kind of had a feeling it's like there was always this vibe like it was this temporary thing where maybe, Mr. John Tortorella would not return to the Vegas Golden Knights, and I guess he's not. So what the heck? I'm not sure exactly if that was just Vegas saying, no, that's okay, or if it was maybe they were talking contract a tiny bit and he wanted too much, and they're like, no, that's okay. Because, he's a shelf life kind of guy, John Tortorella. So John Tortorella will not return to be the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. And they're like, thank you, Torts, and da-da-da. So I guess basically from April until June, John Tortorella's stint with the Vegas Golden Knights was pretty successful. It gets us successful. It gets us the green check mark. Two wins away from a Stanley Cup. People throughout Twitter and such were saying he'll never win a championship. He already won in Tampa Bay in 2006. 2004. I keep getting those 2 years mixed up. 2006 was when Ron Brittamore won a cup with Peter Laviolette and the Carolina Hurricanes way back in 2006. So there's that. The draft, should I get to the draft first? Usually, yeah. I mean, the Wild actually have 5 picks. That was real dumb. Round 3 is where the Wild first make their first draft pick. Round 4, round 5, we have 2 picks, our pick and the San Jose Sharks pick. These are like our picks otherwise. And the original pick in round 6. Basically, the first round pick was traded to the Vancouver Canucks as part of the blockbuster package for Quinn Hughes. Second rounder from last year's trade deadline was traded away for Gustav Nyquist. Mr. I didn't do anything until I got the offsides penalty and helped cost the Minnesota Wild a chance to win the game in the series versus the Vegas Golden Knights. Thank you very much. That was when Bruce Cassidy was still their coach. Who knows? Maybe he'll still be the coach because the Vegas Golden Knights have denied teams to interview with Bruce Cassidy, which is the weirdest thing ever. I don't get it. 7th round, Florida Panthers. The 7th round pick for this year was traded to the Florida Panthers for the ever spectacular Jeff Petrie, 38 years of age at the time. Impossible that he'll be back. But, I guess. Not many 7th round picks make it, unfortunately. So it is what it is. I'm seeing some interesting news here. What did we acquired a 4th round pick? I don't remember that one. This got to be old news, right? Or is this some kind of oh, this is old. Yeah, Connor Dewar trade. Well, it was nice, but it says 2026. That's what's interesting. So I don't know. I get confused. It is what it is. Where will the Wild pick? Yes, we get to start in the 3rd round. So you got to wait for the second draft night, basically. I thought the Timberwolves also were just picking in the 2nd round. Apparently they have the 28th pick. So interesting there. Must have been part of a trade there. So the Timberwolves will have the 28th pick, but we're not talking Timberwolves right now. We're talking Minnesota Wild. Okay, I'll just talk about the draft now. Otherwise, I just blow it off later, and I might come back to it. I don't know, depth picks. Anything. Take anything. I wouldn't be against drafting a goaltender in there somewhere. I think the Wild should draft a goaltender because really, I think we're pretty thin in that category in the system. I think the Minnesota Wild are very thin in the category in the system, and that's why I'm not all that super excited about the possibility of trading away Gustav Nyquist unless he prefers to be traded. And I'm definitely not all that excited about the possibility of trading Jesper Wallstedt unless it's a Connor McDavid type of trade. Like, it has to be a franchise trading type of trade. Also, again, the possibility of like a Boldy or Kaprizov getting traded in something like that. Again, you don't want to give up the whole damn team to get a Connor McDavid or a Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews even more so. As good as he is, he's not Connor McDavid. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe we're going to be kind of like a Northern Golden Knights here. We're going to be the Green and Gold Knights or the Green and Red Knights. You know, the Minnesota Christmas Knights will be our new name, where we're pretty much just kind of win now, 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 win now. You get the idea, and bleep those picks. I like draft picks though, doggone it. How did we get Kaprizov? How did we get Boldy? So it is what it is. And plus, I guess owning the picks at times can help you get a Quinn Hughes. And it can also get you a Gustav Nyquist as well. Or Michael McCarron. Yeah, so Michael McCarron on the Minnesota Wild as well. He has inked a new, sorry, I'm starting to sound like Rod Roddy here. A new contract. You could win that. Yes, 3. You get the idea. From $3 million all the way down to $3 for the next 6 years. Michael McCarron at age 31 signs a 6-year ditty to sign with your Minnesota Wild. He'll be an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2032. We'll see if Wormwood hits us before that, 3 years before that, in April 2029. That's a possibility. Watch out. We'll see what happens. It's either going to hit us or pass close by. Not trying to start a panic or anything, but yeah, there's always stuff out there. I know. I mean, who knows? It kind of is what it is, right? It kind of is what it is. But Michael McCarron, 6-year ditty to sign with the Minnesota Wild. Otherwise, unrestricted free agents Nick Foligno. Will he return? Maybe. For like a league minimum type of thing for a year. That's about what I'd be looking at. Marcus Johansson is on his way out of here. So Marcus Johansson going back to Sweden, and God bless him. You know, I mean, obviously he took much less to stay with us last year and had a heck of a year in the first half of the season. But and he had a goal or two in the playoffs, but we appreciate that. He had his moments, especially early in the year. It was a nice surprise, but as the year progressed, it was kind of a lot of the same, where it's like, Marcus, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you'll know. You know what I mean? Isn't that the cutest song you ever heard in your life? Sorry. I know, I don't know. But it was disappointing in the long run. But, you know, overall productivity, yes, you got a pretty good bang for your buck. Yes. So it was a good deal. It was a good deal. For less than $1 million, Marcus, that was a hell of a deal, and I appreciate it. Just wish you could have been, maybe you could have stretched out more consistency versus hot, cold, that kind of thing. But in this world, it's too much to ask pretty much from anybody. One day, this person's the best worker ever, and then the next week or something, they call off twice for like whatever. It's just like, you son of a gun, you know, you get so mad. Stop calling in, please. Marcus Johansson basically called in a few times, or several times, second half of the year. Basically dead. Vladimir Tarasenko, unrestricted free agent. Would I bring him back? I think so, but probably not at the same salary. He was making about 4.5. Probably not at the same salary. I am not sure. But again, you don't want to bring too many older guys back. You just don't. You don't. You got to open roster spots and all of that for some of the younger guys to come in, because I believe not Riley Heidt as much as Hunter Haight is NHL ready. I believe Hunter Haight is NHL ready. Charlie Stramo I believe is ready as well. Tyler Pitlick, that's, you know, I think he's Iowa Wild. He's an unrestricted free agent next summer. Hunter Haight would be a restricted free agent next summer. Hunter Haight, Danila Yurov, restricted free agent 2 summers from now. So thankfully we get to keep him around for a bit. That Boldy's one of the better deals in the league now. It was like, man, that's a lot. And it's like, no, it isn't. He's making $10 million a year less per season. You know, $10 million less per season than Kirill the Thrill, or Dollar Bill Kirill. I don't do the dollar. I say dollar. He is a free agent in 2034. Excuse me. Drew Larsenek, the other best deal in the league, 5.25. Unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2029. Got to keep Drew Larsenek here, I think, his whole career if we can. Trading him for Dylan Larkin wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, because, well, then he just gets replaced by Dylan Larkin. It's an upgrade, but it'd be a slight upgrade. You know, yes, Dylan Larkin's better than Drew Larsenek, but how about Dylan Larkin and Drew Larsenek, huh? Would that make a little more sense? You got 2 nice centers, but again, you're going to have to get something. You have to give something to get something, that type of thing. Charlie Stramel could be on the trading block because of that. We'll see, or Danila Yurov, or even both. If Detroit wants both, I think I'm done. I think I'm done because I mean, how many draft picks do you have to trade away? Like, I mean, I mean, you might have a first round pick in 2040 with the way we're going. So I'm slightly exaggerating there, but you get the idea. I don't know, man. I think that'd be expensive. Yes, but I don't think I'd want to give up Danilov and Jules Eriksson-Ek. I think that'd be kind of dumb. Or Stramel, excuse me. Definitely not Jules Eriksson-Ek. Not that Jules Eriksson-Ek is untradeable. Not that he's not. I mean, in a Connor McDavid trade, it's not personal, it's business. You know what I mean? It's not personal, it's business. I mean, you might end up saying goodbye to like a Boldy and or even a Kirill Kaprizov. You might even be willing to say goodbye to Kirill Kaprizov, like just a big name type of trade. You get the super, best player in the league type of guy, and you trade away another top 5, top 10 player in the league for him, and it is what it is. So, Wild would be getting the better player. I didn't say that out loud, did I? Yes, the Wild would be getting the better player, and Edmonton would be getting a star in return, though, at the very least. It wouldn't be like all over for Edmonton per se in that case. It wouldn't be like the Gretzky trade where it's kind of weird. I don't know. I guess there's worse trades than that one, but a guy that could be on the trading block is Ryan Hartman, of course. He is a unrestricted free agent next summer. So he's an expiring contract at $4 million a year. So Marcus Foligno, 2 years remaining. He might be a possible trade chip in this one. And that would mean, of course, no Nick Foligno. So there's a chance you're going to have both or zero. But again, how many old guys do you want on the roster taking up spots? Seriously, from the Hunter Hates and, of course, Charlie Stramel. Now, will Charlie Stramel even be here? Who knows? I'm sure he would like to be. Charlie, would you like to play for the Minnesota Wild? I'm guessing he's raising his hand if he's listening. I'm guessing. Just guessing. Now, Mats Zuccarello, I'm sure, would like to come back, but will he? I don't know. Does he have other plans? Does he want to go back to the New York Rangers? Does he want to call it quits? Does he want to go to Norway? Does he want to go to Norway? Maybe. I don't know. He's 38 years of age. And the conversation is something I agree with. This might be parroting what some other people are saying, but, well, how do you disagree with this? If Kirill Kaprizov is so reliant on Mats Zuccarello, then he's not worth the money. So it's kind of like sink or swim, Kirill. You have to. You can't just be meh because Mats Zuccarello isn't here anymore. Mats Zuccarello is 9 years older than Kirill Kaprizov. 9 years older. There's no way. Ain't no way you're going to play together your whole career. It's not going to happen. Ain't no way going to happen. So it can't. So one way or another, the Band-Aid's going to have to come off, whether it gets ripped off or gently taken off. It's going to have to happen. If he leaves as a free agent or retires or whatever it is, the Wild say, no, we're moving on. That's ripping the Band-Aid off, and it happens. You got to get past it sometimes. It's not because we don't want him, we don't like him. No, we love him. We love you, Mats Zuccarello. But when it's time to move on, it's time to move on sometimes. Can't play forever, and he might not want to anyway. He might say, yeah, that's enough. Robbie Fabry, thank you for your services. God bless you. And unless you want to play for the Iowa Wild, basically, which might be what happens if he comes back, he might be a depth piece, like emergency replacement with, due to like injuries and such. Bobby Brink, restricted free agent, got the hammer with that arbitration. He's laying down the hammer, Bobby Brink. Did he impress me that much? No. He would become an unrestricted free agent in the NHL rules and such by the summer of 29. Yep. So that's kind of a while, isn't it? It doesn't seem right, but I guess so. So yes, you can sign him to maybe a 3-year extension, prove it deal, something like that. I don't know. I wouldn't sign him for a whole lot. And I wouldn't count on him a whole lot. He's got skill, he's got talent, and he's from Minnetonka. We love Minnetonka, and it's got one of the cooler lakes in the Twin Cities area. You got to have like $1 billion to live anywhere near the lake. But yeah, you could still live in Minnetonka, whether you're like, worth $30 million or something. To have one of those cigarette boats that cost a fortune. That's what my brother and nephews call it, the cigarette boats. That's what they look like. Very expensive, extremely fast, and for people with a lot more money than me. If you have that kind of money, God bless you, I guess. Notice I said I guess. Bobby Brink. Um, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's kind of a mixed opinion thing, I think, with Bobby Brink. Me personally, I just didn't see it. Um, I just didn't see a guy that I'm like, wow, we got to keep him. Man, I wouldn't be surprised though, like a 2-3 year extension. That's not, a 2 to 3 year kind of a prove it deal. You know what I mean? Like a bridge contract, 2 or 3 million a year, something like that. 24 years of age, shows some promise, but again, kind of a smaller guy that felt so far like the little engine that couldn't. I don't know. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic and rude. It's just, I just didn't see it that much. Some of you might have saw more, but I don't know. It's like, it's like that. It's like he's almost there. Oh my God, it didn't happen. Damn. It was kind of like that. So there's a reason why he didn't get a ton of playing time in the postseason. So that's kind of how I look at that. So yes, trades and stuff. Trades and stuff. Dylan Larkin as the Minnesota Wild is one of only 3 teams he'd be willing to be traded to. He is also 29 years of age, like Kirill the Thrill is for real. $8.7 million a year. He is a restricted free agent in the summer of 2031. So quite a bit of contract remaining for Dylan Larkin. He's frustrated with the organization in Detroit, where they went from a team that never missed the playoffs since the end of the 80s up until, like 2016 or so. And now they can't make the playoffs ever. It's weird, and sometimes that happens, like the Portland Trailblazers were a team like that. They didn't miss the playoffs since the late 80s or something. And then when they finally missed, it's like, wow, they've missed the playoffs. And then they haven't really been back hardly ever. Portland Trailblazers, unfortunately for Portland Trailblazers, they didn't win 4 championships along that time, where Detroit did. So a little slight difference there in terms of like overall playoff success. But they did get to the NBA Finals twice, particularly at the beginning of that long streak of making the playoffs. But yes, it was the Portland Trailblazers and Detroit Red Wings were just making the playoffs every year, basically forever. And then the streak ended and it stayed over. It stayed ended, basically. It's weird. So frustrations with Dylan Larkin there. I've always been a fan, always hoped the Wild could get him, but I always figured the Wild could not. That's what I always kind of saw. They're probably not going to get him, but what the hell? It's a nice dream. We'll see what happens with Dylan Larkin. I do believe I looked over his numbers and such not too long ago. My apologies. I think it was on the previous episode, or was it the previous segment? See, now my brain's kind of all uppity right now. I think it might have been who knows? Never been a 100-point guy. His career high is 79 in 22-23. Great season. 32 goals there. He actually had a career high in goals, him being Dylan Larkin, last year. 34. Career high, and he played 74 games. Fairly reliable. Yep, there were the shortened years because of COVID, and the year after COVID was really short, 20 into 21, basically, which was basically all 2021, right, if I remember correctly. Very short year. You had a weird playoff setup. You got to see, was it Dallas and Montreal in the conference final? Or no, Vegas and Montreal in the conference finals. It was weird. It was really strange. So everything was kind of like just out of whack. It was kind of maybe like going way back in the day, where like the North Stars were in the same division as the Boston Bruins, going way, way back in the day. What were we in the Adams division long ago in a galaxy far, far away? It's kind of cool, but weird at the same time. You saw teams, like Tampa and Montreal in the Stanley Cup Final. That's not going to happen. Is it? Tampa and Montreal? No, they're in the same conference. So it was kind of weird. And just Montreal being in the Cup Final was weird too, because they weren't nowhere near being what any of us saw as a Cup contender at the time, but they had a nice run. Anyhow, off of that, Dylan Larkin is very consistent in terms of like he's a 30-goal guy, 30-plus assist type of guy, 200-foot player, offense, defense. He's like a better Joel Eriksson Ek in a lot of ways. That's basically what he is. He's like a better Joel Eriksson Ek. And it'd be wonderful to have him on Minnesota with Joel Eriksson Ek. He could be number 1. Joel could be number 2, or Joel Eriksson Ek, if I'm saying it correctly. Charlie Stramel, maybe the third center. Maybe the third line center, and number 4. Well, I guess Nico Sturm. He was awfully disappointing last year. Plus, he was hurt at the beginning of the year and was out forever. That didn't help at all. That kind of derailed things for Nico Sturm's first season back with the Minnesota Wild. But that's a conversation out there. Another very interesting name that's been brought up, sorry if I've been mumbling, I guess, maybe, is Nico Hischier. I've probably been saying his name incorrectly my whole life. Number 1 overall pick in 2027. It's been that long already. Holy Toledo. His numbers have not been ultra dazzling necessarily, but he certainly came around after a fairly slow start to his career. Fairly slow start. Kind of got going a little, and then just, is he a star? Is he not a star? He's good. He's really good. He's really good, but he's not a star. 52 points as a rookie, which is fairly solid. He played every game. Ran into some injury issues, and then the COVID thing, and then only 21 games in that COVID year, and only 11 freaking points. Yeesh. And then he kind of semi took off here. He had 60 points the next year in 70 games, and 80 points in 81 games. Awesome year in 22-23, 31 goals, 49 assists. Again, he's be a number 1 center for the Wild for sure. 71 games, 67 points, 75 games, 69 points, 82 games last year, 66 points. So fairly reliable. There's years where he'll miss looks like 10, 12 games, something like that, 5 games, 7 games. A couple of years early in his career where he struggled with health, but got better in that department. Pardon me. He's 27. He'll be turning 28 on January 4th. 28 on January 4th. The Naders Switzerland guy coming in, if that's the case. So, yeah, he'd be a nice addition to the Minnesota Wild, no doubt about that. We'd take him in a heartbeat, I'm sure. It's just how... Yeah, I mean, how much would we have to give up? I mean, it could be the same conversation like Charlie Stramel type of thing. Would probably look good in a Devils jersey, I'm sure. Or at least they would think so. Rather have him here, but we'll see what happens with that. It'd be interesting. Man, what am I clicking on? I just hate that. You click on the wrong thing and you screw everything up. Sounds like fun. Yep, Joel Eriksson, of course, this last year, 70 games, 51 points. So, of course, again, be, and they're not from the same place though. Sweden and Switzerland, sometimes I get those mixed up. Switzerland would be like a guy by the name of Nino Niederreiter. It's like, come on, get it. There we go. The CPU caught up. I maybe need to buy an AMD one instead of this Intel one, or vice versa. Maybe it's the Intel one. That's more of the work one versus the graphics. Maybe I'm too stuck in AMD. I don't know. Just teasing with you on that one. Yeah, the CPU needed to catch up there. Plus, I haven't talked about Nino Niederreiter a whole lot the last several years, so kind of moved on. Be a nice addition. It'd be very intriguing. Would the Devils want to do it? Maybe, because they haven't been winning. It's been kind of a mess there. Like, they look like they're ready to rock and roll, and then, okay, I guess not. They kind of, I don't know, they just kind of lost again. Jack Hughes, yeah, who knows? It'd be exciting, but who knows if that would ever happen. Let's look at those guys over there in New Jersey, if humanly possible. Thanks to Puckpedia for a lot of these, salaries and such. Yeah, Timo Meier is making the most at 8.8. Jack Hughes, yep, he's got plenty of years left in his contract. He'll be looking at $8 million per. He would be a free agent in the summer of 2030. Nico Hischier isn't expiring. He's an expiring. He'd be a free agent next summer. So it's another, like, you trade for him and you got to re-sign him. And would it be a big chunk of money? Maybe 7-5. So far, I don't think he's earned like, $13, $14 million a year. I don't think so. Maybe more like 9, 10 tops. If he has an awesome year this year, yeah, like maybe more like upwards of 10-ish. Otherwise, I'm thinking, yes, like a raise, but nothing like holy crap, like more like 9, 9.5. That's just my guess. If he was like to continue having a year like he had this past season, yeah, it's like maybe $9 million a year. So some of you might be rolling your eyes, others might be like nodding, like, yeah, that's about right. So I have no idea what people are thinking. Jack Hughes, 25 years of age, another number 1 overall pick, of course. Looked on as a superstar in the league. Has he kind of been one? Kind of, sort of, yeah. I mean, does he blow my socks off? Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, he had 99 points. Yep, 22-23. A lot of the Devils played great that year. Those evil guys. Yep, 99 points. So, yes, he's capable of really exploding. It was the only time he eclipsed the 30-goal mark. Again, centers don't necessarily goal scorers, but they can be. Like elite goal scorers is what I'm trying to say. They can be playmakers. They can be goal scorers. And, of course, the 200-foot thing, you're hoping to get 200-foot play, offense and defense, two-way type of play. Jack Hughes feels more like a, overall like offensive stud type of guy. Took him a couple of years to get going. His rookie year, he only had 21 points in 61 games, 31 points in 56 games. That was a COVID year, of course. And then in 49 games, he had 56. That's when he started to take off. In 21-22, that was not a COVID year, by the way. But 56 points, that's pretty damn good, to be fair. 56 points, yep. 56 points in 49 games is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I missed a ton of games that year. Since then, yeah, he missed his time. Dang it. That 22-23 when he had 99 points, he only missed 4 games. That's awesome. But the last couple of years, he's missed 20 games, and 21 games. But extremely productive, like more points than games, like 62 points, 74, 62 games, 74, and then the next year 62 games again. What the hell? And 70 points, and then last year 61 games and 77. Would it be cool to reunite Jack Hughes with Quinn Hughes, or unite them anyway? They've never played on the same like NHL team. They were certainly on the Olympic team and won the gold. And then of course Luke, who's a defenseman, had 35 points. Again, solid defenseman. Not quite as good as Quinn at the moment, but all of them highly touted. Wears the same number as Quinn at 43. Jack wears 86, kind of doubling things up there. Doubling up the 43, which is interesting. They're all, 43 somehow. It'd be exciting to get Jack. I'm not sure that's on the table necessarily, if it's possible. How much would the Devils want? Is it more likely where the Minnesota Wild would get Nico Hischier? Probably. I think it's more likely the Wild get him than Jack, but just saying. I don't think it would cost as much. Does Jack want out? I mean, you haven't really heard anything in that department, so it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It'd be exciting to get him, but New Jersey, I sure sees him as their guy. If they're going to go far, win a Stanley Cup someday or something, go on a big playoff run, that would be the guy to have. And, well, he's also the guy who scored the gold medal winning goal. He's got that on his resume for the rest of his life. God bless him. I mean, it's the coolest thing ever. So we'll see how that all turns out. It'd be extremely exciting to get him in Minnesota. It'd be quite a home run swing, and Jack and Quinn on the same team would be with Brock Faber. Oh, epic as heck, man. It'd be so beautiful. It'd be so beautiful. Like, how much would you have to give up? Probably quite a bit. But also, again, Mr. Bill Guerin did talk about how the Minnesota Wild, that anybody's tradable. Anybody's tradable, and it kind of should be that way. Anybody's a possible trade chip going into this off season, and into next year as well. What am I clicking on? Why is this popping up? Outlook's popping up. That's dumb. How did I click on that? Who knows? And then of course this other stuff pops up, and then the next thing pops up, and then I get pissed off and start complaining and yelling. So apologize for that nonsense. But yes, I mean, the Minnesota Wild should be looking at defensemen looking at centers, but the Minnesota Wild should also look at a top 4 defenseman. It sounded like, the other day when Pat Micheletti, did he come on both PA and Barrero? I think he came on both of them. Oops, sorry, some noise in the background. I think he came on both of them, and it's like he's been listening to Brave the Wild. It sounds like it a little bit. Now, let's be honest, the odds of that are slim to none, but what the heck, wouldn't that be cool? What the heck, let's dream a little bit. He was like, no, I mean, a lot of people are talking about center for the Minnesota Wild, but I think they should be, he's like, I think they should be focused on getting a top 4 defenseman in here. And it's like, because he didn't say the exact same reasons I did necessarily, because, well, first of all, you can't count on Brodin and Spurgeon to be that. You can't. You absolutely cannot count on Jake Middleton to be that. You absolutely cannot. Jake Middleton is a third pair. I thought he was somebody who was a top 4 the way he was going. But silly me, that in hindsight, it's like, what was Joey thinking? So maybe I don't know what the heck I'm talking about sometimes. But well, like you're better. No, I'm just kidding. That's what kind of things people used to say in school. See, like right now, the defensive pairings, Quinn Hughes, at least according to Daily Faceoff, Quinn Hughes, Brock Faber. Yep, no brainer, top pair. No kidding. It's like they're a top pair potentially for the Olympics, for Pete's sake. Then you have Jake Middleton and Jared Spurgeon. But of course, that would be with Jonas Brodin out. So that's the other thing. Jonas Brodin and Spurgeon. Jonas Brodin, always hurt. Jared Spurgeon, I don't think he's a top four anymore. I don't think Jared Spurgeon is a top four anymore. I don't. I think that if you're going to have Spurgeon and Middleton play together, it should be on the third pair. But then again, that didn't work too good either. You know, that pairing in general didn't work too good, but maybe they'd be okay as a third pair. But I think Spurgeon should drop down to third pair. I think he's at that point in his career. And I don't think that's mean to say. I don't think it's mean or disrespectful to say that Jared Spurgeon should be dropped down to the third pair. Because, well, I think the less he's on the ice, the better in terms of like he can stay healthy and such. His productivity has certainly dropped off, generally speaking. Defensively, the intangibles, he can still be that guy. Like a Brad Bombardier could have been a great third pair. You know, and I love Brad Bombardier so much. He brought so many intangibles. He was kind of like a Spurgeon before Spurgeon and a little bit larger guy. Of course, Spurgeon's been looked on as the little engine that could, basically, for Minnesota for all these years. At least he could when he's healthy, anyway, which unfortunately has not always been the case. But it's tough. There's also talk of, like, if you want to include, like in the Dylan Larkin trade, include Jonas Brodin in the deal. It's like, yes, I totally understand that idea. But then again, then you really, 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 really need to get a top four defenseman in here, one way or another. As to who that could potentially be, it's kind of hard to say. As for actual free agents and such, Jacob Trouba, that's one out there. At least I believe so. Yeah, is Brent Burns a free agent? That would be kind of cool to bring him in, but I don't think he's a top four guy at his age. John Klingberg, hell no. I mean, there's no defense there. Rasmus Anderson's the name I've heard being brought up. 47 points, strong player. Man, I'm tired of clearing my throat every 10 minutes. That's kind of annoying, I'm sure. Yeah, he only made 4.5 the last few years, but he had a strong 47-point season for the Vegas Golden Knights. He only made 4.5. He's an unrestricted free agent. He's 29. Yeah, I mean, that's a name I'd be looking at. I mean, the Wild apparently have a little over $9 million, I believe, in overall free agency. Cap space at the moment. Interesting. Yeah, Rasmus Anderson. That's a name that's been brought up. That's somebody I wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah, his previous cap hit was 4.5. It was a 6-year deal, and now he is an unrestricted free agent. That's a guy I would potentially look at as a free agent, but how much are you willing to give? How much is he going to demand? Is he going to demand $7 million a year? He had 47 points last year. So, obviously, hopefully you have some, you do have some salary going out, but then again, that's how you got to the $9 million. That in free agency, that's kind of who you're potentially looking at. Maybe a Jacob Trouba. Do you love Jacob Trouba enough? He made $8 million per year. Holy Toledo. Expensive. He's 32 now. Yeah, he made $8 million a year, and it was an 8-year deal. Seems like too much at the time. But he had some good seasons, but $8 million, huh? Man, his career high is 39. Obviously, there's more to just the defenseman than there's more to being a defenseman than scoring. Obviously, as there's play some damn defense. He did have a 50-point year, which again got him in that huge contract. 82 games, 50 points. He was making 5.5 for the Winnipeg Jets at the time in 2018, 2019. Seems like 30 years ago, but it's not. Just a lot has happened since then, of course, as you already know. The closest he came was 39 since then in his years with the New York Rangers and Anaheim Ducks. Obviously traded along the way. I don't know. I think I take Rasmus Anderson over Jacob Trouba, but he could definitely see a drop in salary. And I'm sure he will. Maybe he'd be dropping down to 4.5 or 5 a year. Would he be willing to do that? Hard to say. Rasmus Anderson's had some nice years with the Calgary Flames. 50 points. Obviously, I think he might be more of an offensive-minded guy, but hey, as long as he's not a disaster defensively, well, okay, at least you're getting something, because you're not getting any offense from Jake Middleton just once in a while, and it's like, oh my God, he scored! It's a miracle. So Rasmus got 50 points in 21-22, 49 points the next year, 39 the next year, and so on and so forth. 39. Didn't he have 39 last year? What am I looking at? Oh, he was part of the trade. Yes, it was. He had 47. Yeah, I'm talking stupid here. He had 47. Went from a minimum salary guy way back in 2020 and such Always been very productive, a pretty reasonable contract. Dang, very reasonable for a pretty solid defenseman. Along the way, who can score and such, can score goals, obviously get tons and tons of assists. Some of those years, he had 46 assists in that 50-point year. That's a lot. Only 4 goals, but we'll take the 40 assists. It's pretty good. So it'd be a nice weapon on the second pair. Maybe again. So yeah, yep, he would be coming from Sweden, so there you go. You're one Swede for another, that type of thing. He does shoot right. He shoots right, not left. Okay. Well, that doesn't kill anything necessarily, but, well, maybe you pair it. Well, yeah, maybe you pair him with Brodin. If you keep him, you pair him with Brodin. Would that be a disaster? Not necessarily. And that's where you could maybe move Spurgeon down to the third pairing. I don't think that's suicide, moving Spurgeon down to the third pair. I really don't. I don't think it's rude. I don't think it's unacceptable. He's an older player now, dang it. And I don't know. I like that he was able to stay healthy this past year. I don't think it's the end of the world if you move Spurgeon down to the third pair. And that doesn't mean he's going to get like 8 minutes a game. He might get more. He might get significantly more. So he might still get like 16 minutes or something, especially playing on the penalty kill and such. So, because putting him on the power play would be dumb. Or I think Rasmus Anderson could be on the second power play. Why the hell not? So that's somebody I would look at. It's like, at least in free agency, trades and such, again, hard to say. It'd be nice, but I can't believe Marcus Johansson did have 49 points last year. I didn't realize it was that high. That's crazy. That's really high. Patrick Kane even had 57. Alex Tuck is a free agent. I'd love to have him. Alex Ovechkin. Tarasenko's even in that top group, 47 points. Yeah, it's a strong year, you know. Claude Giroux, very, very old player, unfortunately. Yep. He's been around for eons and eons and eons. Obviously, Darren Radich, that's probably looking at a huge payday. John Carlson, 60 points for the Clucks. No, the Ducks, you get the idea. Brent Burns, I'd love to have. That'd be kind of cool to bring him back, but he's definitely third pair. Would he be willing to come back at a cheap salary? Imagine him coming back and winning a Stanley Cup here. That'd be the coolest thing ever. But that's kind of, I don't know. That's free agency in terms of things. Unless you want to do some kind of weird sign-in trade or something with the Vegas Golden Knights, who knows? Odds of Rasmus wanting to stay in Vegas are probably fairly high, but who knows? It doesn't guarantee that he's just in love with the Vegas Golden Knights or they're in love with him. So that's kind of where that conversation is at this moment. With that, I think I've babbled on long enough, and it's time to get to what you guys have to say. Let's hear what you guys have to say, because it sounds like a pretty busy fan interaction segment coming up. We'll talk to you then. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 3, fan interaction segment at Brave the Wild. At Brave the Wild is where to go. Hashtag BTWMN to keep things organized, which is the way I like to have things organized. So, yes, at Brave the Wild and on Instagram at Brave the Wild _MN. So Brave the Wild, I guess, was taken. Yay. So you get the point there. Sorry for all the weird background noise. So these are the polls where we decide who is the most valuable player for the Minnesota Wild last year. Biggest disappointment and biggest surprise. I gave out my stuff at the beginning. Quinn Hughes MVP, Jake Middleton disappointment, and biggest surprise was Jesper Wallstedt. So, with no further ado, who is your Minnesota Wild 2025 MVP? If other plays comment, hashtag BTWMN, all that cute stuff. The candidates are and were and are Quinn Hughes, Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, and Jesper Wallstedt. The winner for most valuable player, according to the fans, is Quinn Hughes. 56.3%. Congratulations, Quinn Hughes. Second place, Matt Boldy, 31.3%. Jesper Wallstedt, 9.4%, and the fans clearly disappointed in Kirill's season. 3.1% coming in fourth place. A distant fourth place, by the way. 3.1%. Let's hear what some of you had to say. Looks like there's at least 4 comments here. Tom Hayen opening things off like Dan Gladden. Or well, I won't say Byron Buxton. He shouldn't be a leadoff hitter. Ricky Henderson. No, I know. Let's talk Twins. Only correct answer is Quinn Hughes. The entire complexion of the team changed the minute Quinn Hughes took the ice in December. I agree. And looks like there's a couple of replies. Yep. Oh, because Tom Hand didn't put the BDW on man. So Derek ahead of that. Thank you, Derek. Okay, so Derek, of course, Derek Velska of the Creases Podcast Spectacular Show. Highly recommended. Absolutely. With Talisha Townsville, Teresa Ferries, and Brand Steve. I'm not sure Steve was on the last episode, but people aren't always 100% available. That's just how it is, especially when it's 4 people. 100 Watt jumping in says, I couldn't agree more. To Tom Hand, everything on the ice was dangerous for the opponent whenever Quinn Hughes took the ice. An absolute stud that controls the game. It flows through him. Look at the confidence he gave Faber. Yeah, they need to resign him. 1,000% there. Yes. 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 Next is Derek Velska. There he is. Quinn Hughes was simply transformative for the Minnesota Wild. We went from a bubble team to division contender instantly. Agreed. No other player on the team had that kind of impact. Yeah, I'm nodding in approval to that. He produced points, but he also helped his teammates flourish as well. Yep, he really made Quinn Hughes, Brock Faber, into a potential all-star. Tom Hand responds to Derek with 100%. The Brock Faber we saw the last 4 months of the year doesn't exist if Quinn Hughes isn't on the team. No chance. Yeah, there's a reply to that one, too. Let's see how. 101 Watt says, the definition of a transformative player is how he makes everyone around him better. Yeah. Yep, as they might say. Morty says, not many K-Cash. No, not many. Jay Bushy says, Hughes, the team changed for the better after he arrived. Exclamation point. Dominic Stemeri, agree. He brought a huge jumpstart for us. Amen and amen and amen. I think I've seen that name before. Oh, I'll give him a follow. Let's see what happens. The more the merrier, my friend. Dominic Demeri. I think I have seen the name, but I don't know. Apparently we didn't interact too much yet. Yep, that was like the Minnesota Wild recently. I was, sharing the news. I don't break news, I share news. And the next poll. Who is your biggest disappointment, basically? Philip Gustafson, Jake Middleton, Nico Sturman, Jonas Brodin. This one had less votes, but more comments. Interesting. First place in the winner, Jake Middleton. Still agreeing with me there. 77.8. Holy cow. Did it have more votes? No, it had less votes. It had less votes, but more comments. That's what I was trying to say, yes. Nico Sturman, Jonas Brodin tied. Interesting, 11.1 each. And Philip Gustafson didn't get a single vote, so he dodged a bullet there. Not even one. Comments. Jay Bushy say, I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but Broads has been injured a lot during key times in the season. His injury exposed, mids, that would be, Middleton in the playoffs, no doubt. Emin Johan says, I'm sure Broads shares your disappointment that he was injured. Okay. Stephen Miller, there he is, Brand Steve, says, had hopes that Sturm would take this game to a higher level, but apparently that only happens when he's playing for other teams other than the Minnesota Wild. Or he's playing for teams other than the Minnesota Wild. Sorry for making that sound bad. Middleton got exposed in the playoffs, so he's my choice. When it mattered most, he laid down and let puck after puck sail into the net. Yeah, horse crap. Brodin became injury prone, but we knew that was coming into the season. I suspect the bottom 2 D pairs might look very different. Very different next season. Yeah, like both of them maybe, huh? We'll see what Billy can do this summer. Indeed, I say. David Juracek burner. Interesting. Sturm got health bombed in both his Stanley Cup wins. Never expected anything out of him other than being a solid fourth line center. Yep. But injuries haunted him this season. Agree with you on Middleton. Yep. Looks like we're following each other. That's cool. David Juracek burner. Derek Welska, there he is, says, I voted for Middleton, who has been the same player ever since he signed a contract extension. I'm not sure if it was having his first kid or whatever, but his focus as well as his mobility was pretty questionable this season. That was weird, wasn't it? Emin Johan said, I had bigger hopes for Sturm before the season, and I don't think he really reached his full potential until later in the playoffs. Mitzi was my biggest disappointment when it came to performance, but injuries stretched his minutes too much. Yep, kind of put his role a little higher. Morty did quote unquote if he could play like he did in the playoffs all year, he would add a lot. I noticed shortly after Mac arrived, he picked up his game. Mm-hmm. Yep, it sounds like Sturm there. Yep. Johan sharing it with us there. Thank you. Bama 1776. Jared Spurgeon all day for the last decade. Nice. Yep. The Book Girl 25. The Book Girl 25. Oh, yeah. Follow back. Yes, I will. Sorry about that. Middleton was my biggest disappointment. He really did not play well in the second round at all. Burdine was hurt and seems to be a lot when it counts. Yeah, he's always hurt him. My hope is that Billy will do something to shake up and strengthen the D pairs behind the two. Yeah, by Faber and Hughes. Yeah, I agree 1,000% with that. Dang it. Sorry. Morty says, I was expecting to hear Mids was playing injured. The first half of the year, he was decent, but after Hughes showed up, he was dreadful. It is sad. It is sad, as I like Mids. Yep, Middleton. The Book Girl responds with, I think Hughes has exposed D-pair weaknesses. I also think this is an area where Billy needs to work to strengthen. Yes, absolutely. Yep. So, yep, agreeing with me and Pat Micheletti there about improving that D. Last one. This one's got the least votes and the least responses. That's fine. Obviously, you're like sick of my polls, right? No, I'm just kidding. Who was your biggest surprise for the year? Jesper Wallstedt are the four. The candidates are Jesper Wallstedt, Danila Yurov, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Yakov Trenin, who had a nice jump up. Jesper Wallstedt with 50%. Wow. Danila Yurov, 0. Okay, well, sorry, I'm jumping ahead the wrong way. Jesper Wallstedt, 50% is the winner, or the leader, I guess. 22 hours left. Vladimir Tarasenko coming in second at 33.3. Yakov Trenin, 16.7. And Danila Yurov bringing in none. Interesting. So nobody saw him as a big surprise. Morty says, all were good stories. I had a good feeling on Wallstedt. Yeah, Yurov had ups and downs, but first year Russians do. Trenin played like he could. Yep. Derek Felska says, I voted for Wallstedt simply because his previous AHL, yeah, that's for sure. Previous season before this year was so lousy. Yeah, that's for damn. He was terrible, wasn't he? Prior to the start of the season, we were wondering if we had a viable backup, but it turns out he got his act together. Yep, amen to that. Response from Morty. My basic thoughts as well. Goalies are fragile, especially young ones, and he had a weird start of that season. Then goes to Iowa to continue to be horrible and never recovered. Yeah, wasn't that weird? After he got shelled by the Stars a couple of years ago. And I was saying what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. 3 Stanley Cup appearances, and the cup has been clinched in Vegas every time that they've been there. Yep, congratulations, Canes. I'm not talking about Raising Canes, even though it tastes good. I'd love to have them as a sponsor, by the way. Maybe Patrick Kane, too. Okay, I'm just kidding. Derek, jumps in, says, even though it's been in a losing effort 2 out of the 3 times, that'd be for the Vegas Golden Knights, of course, they haven't had to travel far after their season ends. Yeah, that's true. It was a fun Stanley Cup final. I agree with that. Yep, and I think the best team won. I agree with that, too. I can't bring myself to feel sorry for Vegas, not over anything hockey-related. I understand that. Yep. Maybe I just feel bad for, like, Mitch Marner, per se. He had a great... Mitch Marner and Carter Hart, I feel bad for a little bit, because they were, like, new acquisitions and all that, and Carter Hart kind of was through some ups and downs in Philly. He's probably the one I feel the worst for, but totally hear you. I mean, the fans, like, okay, you got 3 Cup final appearances. Who's feeling sorry for you? Nobody. Just like Tom Brady when he lost the Super Bowl here to the Philadelphia Eagles. He's like, I know nobody's feeling sorry for me right now. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, as a huge Brady fan, though, I was disappointed that they didn't win. I would have loved to say Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That would have been kind of cool. But no, the stupid Eagles who just, crapped all over us the 2 weeks earlier were, the Super Bowl champions that year. Now, don't get me wrong. I cheered for the Eagles in both Super Bowls against the Chiefs because no matter how much people might hate the Eagles, the Chiefs, I think, are are the all-time biggest jerk team in the NFL, besides maybe the '90s Cowboys. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, oh god, the '90s Cowboys, ugh, disgusting. And we'll wrap things up with Torts. Thank you, Torts. Vegas Golden Knights. This is their official Twitter, X, whatever the hell it's called. Vegas Golden Knights general manager Kelly McCrimmon has announced that John Tortorella will not return to the team's coaching staff following 25-26. So it's like, what the hell? It was a little surprising, a little bit. I mean, maybe not super, though. I know Teresa does not like Torts. She thinks he's a moron. I don't think he's a moron. Is he a great coach? No, but I think he's good. I do. I'd give him a higher grade per se. I think it sounds like Teresa might give him a D- or an F. I think he's at least a B plus. Come on. Come on. Mokov 65 coming in. Nice to hear from you. Yep, no, it is. Yep, and always love hearing from Mokov 65. LMAO, crazy stuff. And then Derek wraps things up saying maybe he didn't really want to get back into the day-to-day grind of an entire season. Sounds like Vegas was pleased with his performance, but they mutually agreed to part ways. Yep, you could be right. That it's like the day-to-day grind. Like, I don't want to do this full-time thing again. I figure we'll do this as a let's have some fun and hope for the best. And they almost won. Almost got it. That would have been quite interesting if they could have. It would have been quite a story. And you know what? It still is a story. It still is a hell of a story. We all remember the North Stars getting to the Cup Final and losing in similar fashion. Winning game 1 on the road, winning game 3 at home, and then, it just went the wrong way after that. And that's pretty much what happened. The better team won in both cases. And I mean, obviously the Penguins were the better team. You look at their roster, looks a lot like the 80s Oilers. In fact, there were some 80s Oilers on that team, like Paul frickin' Coffey. So, yeah, Paul frickin' Coffey. Holy crap. Pretty much the Quinn Hughes of those days, I'd have to say. He was comparable, maybe, for the time, kind of, sort of. I mean, I don't think it's a dumb comparison, is it? Were they exactly the same player? Of course not. But just kind of similarity in terms of ability and how he makes the team better and such. And, there's a reason why the Oilers won cups. There's a reason why the Penguins won cups. At least the two cups in the Mario era. And then, after that, they choked in the playoffs every year, and Mario started getting hurt all the time. Jagr seemed to lose interest in hockey. And then all of a sudden he's so obsessed with hockey, he's still playing. And he was born in 1972. Yeah, he's still playing. Jagr, sorry, now I'm going to choke here. Sorry, as I try not to cough to death here with the dump button, you could say, the little pause button, the sideways equal sign. No, with that, though, I guess we wrap up with saying adios to Torts, I guess, or adieu, maybe more appropriately. Adios sounds like good riddance in a way. But, I mean, God bless John Tortorella. I think he did a hell of a job in Vegas. I don't look at him as a moron or a dummy or anything. Definitely a shelf life guy. A little bit of attitude. The worst thing he did as the Vegas coach that I know of, anyway, was not talking to the press after knocking the Ducks out. What the hell? It cost him $100,000. That might be one of the reasons he's bleep this. He's yep, we'll try to win the cup here, and then I'm just gonna step away again, or maybe it was a combination of things there. Mutual agreement type of thing. And then what did that cost him? I think that cost him a draft pick too, didn't it? So it's that was probably one of the big reasons why they were okay, yeah, let's probably not keep this going in both cases. So I don't know. There was no reason for it, in my humble opinion. I know Ken of the Sin Bin podcast was really annoyed with it. Not annoyed with the league for punishing the Vegas Golden Knights. No, annoyed with John Tortorella doing that. And really, the Vegas Golden Knights kind of don't have the best reputation with the media, apparently, which I didn't really realize as strongly as he did, because he's there. He's got his credentials and all that good stuff. Credentials, what are those? I don't know. Somebody fill me in on that, but I'm just teasing. Obviously, it's a crappy part of working second shift. Credentials, it's like a distant dream until I get a completely different career change, which I would love to do. Then maybe credentials might be a possibility. You might actually see Brave the Wild at Wild games more often and stuff. Wouldn't that be amazing? Other than that, though, pray for that day to come, will you? Pray for it. Pray for me for that day to come. A better career, not just a change, something bad happening, but no, more a better career. Yeah. literally a better career, like covering the Wild professionally. Oh man, wouldn't that be a dream come true? Other than that, though, thank you so much for listening. Huge shout out always to the Crease Assist podcast. Just love you, Derek. I really do. And Kalisha, Teresa, Steve, do an amazing job there. Shout out to all of you that commented and have been so loyal to the show. It's awesome. I really thank you so much. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And I'm saying that sincerely. I'm not just trying to be cute or anything, or definitely not sarcastic. Wish we could all hold the Stanley Cup like Mr. Rod Brindamore here as you're seeing stuff in the background. Spinning that thing around in your hands. Oh, I wish I could do that. I wish the Wild could do that. Hopefully we get that day someday here. Otherwise, yeah. Wishing all of you the best. And I don't think I'll be disappearing, becoming a stranger. Of course, you got the draft review coming, free agency, all kinds of exciting conversation coming up. So with my semi-retirement from the lawn service, I'll probably be recording a little more often this summer than previous summers. But it probably won't be a weekly thing or anything. But it's been a hell of a time, though. It's been a hell of a run. And it's a lot of fun. And we'll be doing more Brave the Wilds probably this summer than previous years. But again, not like all the time, maybe every other week or so. And as crazy news breaks, the Minnesota Wild acquire Connor McDavid or something. Who knows? Some crazy move, Jack Hughes. Other than that, thank you so much. And please do give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you could. Please, please, please. It's getting lonely and stupid lately. Like those of you that reviewed it years ago, I appreciate it. But it's almost like, I don't know, it's just not been happening. Maybe people have been reviewing and it's not showing. I don't know what the heck is going on with that. But or people are too busy reviewing everyone else. That's what it feels like. Other than that, thank you. God bless, and we will talk to you soon. Go Wild, get those right free agents, make the right trades.